ABC listener.
Look for the AFL button.
It's all about pride under the Saturday night spotlight as the Crows and Saints face off at the Adelaide Oval in the hopes of dodging a bottom four finish. After finding their mojo, Adelaide must once again reshuffle its midfield mix. They've lost star Isaac Rankin to suspension, but they will be bolstered by the return of the Man Mountain Riley Thilthorpe and the debut of Hugh Bond. Meanwhile, the Saints are the new Kingslayers. They upset the Swans last week by 2 points and are hoping to bring that momentum across the border. No Brad Hill, who's expecting the birth of his second child. Zach Jones into the lineup for the Saints tonight. And no Marcus Windhager, the supreme tagger across this season, may leave the door open for Jordan Dawson to find some form once again for the Adelaide Crows. Great to have your company on ABC Radio, Sport Digital and the ABC Listen app across the country. Aaron Bryant's calling the action tonight, and alongside me is Neil Cross. Good evening, Crossy.
Aaron, good evening. Another really interesting tussle we should see tonight. I mean, it's just you don't know who's going to turn up. Adelaide at their best, they really can play some quality football, and of course the Saints, well, if it's the same Saints outfit that turned out last week, then it will be a really tough and tight contest. Interestingly, Adelaide's won 8 of the past 10 over St Kilda.
I'm a bit worried about the amount of goals that could be scored tonight, Crossy. It could be very low scoring. Ross Lyon, as we know, the mastermind tactician, could find a way to keep this a pretty grisly affair in what's been a wet day here in South Australia. The rain has subsided, we think, for tonight, but it still looks a little dewy out there and certainly cold. We'll check in across the call with Braden Ingram downstairs. But to our experts on ABC Sport tonight, a pair of premiership players. Firstly, to the Adelaide Crows' own Rod Jamison. Good to see you, Jamo.
Hello, Aaron and Crossy. Thank you once again. And yes, we end this year, particularly, we've been coming here to Adelaide and just going, what are we going to get from Adelaide and how big a game it is and what is required. So 5 wins, 10 losses, 1 draw. Sydney at 15th up against St Kilda last week. Outstanding against Sydney, but you've touched on a couple of big players that are out but coming in for Adelaide tonight. It's good to see Riley Thilthorpe get his gig and he'll start as the sub, but 2 big losses also in Isaac Rankin and Mitch Hinge to this team. Should mention, so no late changes in, as Jamo just said. Riley Thilthorpe the sub on return. For the Saints, Ben Patton will be the sub once again for the 3rd time this season. Alongside Jamo is Premiership ruckman Dean Brogan. Good to see you, Brogues.
Oh, good evening, gentlemen. Lovely to be here again. Lots of traffic coming in tonight. Just made it on time, so it looks like we'll get a big crowd. Adelaide supporters show up, don't they? So I think Adelaide have been really good since the bye. I think their last 2 weeks, the way they've gone about it's been really good. We saw them here 2 weeks ago, beat a really good team in the Giants. And then last week, they almost got Brisbane. They fought it out hard. Brisbane are the hottest team in the competition at the moment. So I'm expecting them to win tonight and win well. And you're right, Aaron. It could be a low-scoring affair, calling a Saints game. But, you know, the Saints last week were really good. They played a little bit better than what they have. And with Max King out, maybe their forward line looks a little bit better and they might score a little bit more. So, no, looking forward to the call. Looks like it's dry out there. So, and I want to see congratulations to Hugh Bond on debut tonight. So, another debutant for Adelaide. So they are getting some youth through the door and gains into them. So really good to see.
Fan base has been begging for it, and their prayers are answered. And Zach Taylor as well, who's been the sub the last couple of weeks, now gets a chance to play a full game. So we're certainly seeing that next generation of the Adelaide Crows, and we'll tell you a bit more about Hugh Bond across the night as part of the call on ABC Sport. Might start on the Saints, though. We touched on Isaac Rankin, how important he is for their midfield mix, the Crows. I think the catalyst for how St Kilda turned around their form last week was Mateus Filippo, who's the South Australian who's gone over east as a first-round pick and 26 touches and really led them across the line in the dying stages, Jamo.
Yeah, look, I'm familiar with his family too, and I know their work ethic is extremely hard. And Mateus, he's trained. We saw him go into the senior football last year, and he was just ready to go. And they played him in a few different roles. I think it was initially midfield, a little bit back, and they sort of swung him forward from time to time, but certainly his work ethic, his work rate and his aerobic ability is around the football. He's a left footer. Maybe he needs to work on his kick as in terms of a penetrating kick or a low dart. But outside of that, you're never going to die wondering with him too. So, look, all credit to the work that he's put in. And, yes, he's a South Australian boy. So,
and, Jamo, they've made him earn it too. He went back and I think 6 or 7 weeks in the VFL. So they haven't just given him games. He's gone back and learned his craft and worked on a few things, and now he's come back in the side, and his second half last week was outstanding, and he looks like he's going to be a super player, and I think he's built for the midfield, especially with this midfield with St Kilda, which is not the greatest midfield. They need running capability, running power in that midfield, so I'm looking forward to watching him play tonight and see the South Australian get to work.
Ross Lyon referred to him during the week as a future All-Australian if he continues in that role. So clearly they're happy to hand the keys to the midfield to him, and we'll see if he can back it up tonight after his impressive performance against the Swans. For the Crows, the loss of Isaac Rankin is certainly going to shuffle things around for them a little bit. He's been so electric through the middle. As I mentioned, Zach Taylor getting his first full game. Could he be the answer? How do you see that mix looking tonight, Jamo, without Isaac Rankin?
Oh, well, he's the X factor, isn't it? And the speed that he comes and how electrifying he is, either in the middle or when the danger that he provides up forward. So it's a really big out. And I have to say, 4 weeks for what he did was enormously surprising. I thought maybe 1 or 2, but for 4, that is huge. So he's a massive out. And Mitch Hinge is the other one as well, off the half-back line. I love the way he plays. He's hard at it, head over, the run and rebound. He puts his body where it needs to. So those two are significant outs for Adelaide.
Oh, and they've been their best players over the last couple of weeks as well. So you're basically taking out 2 of your best players. And you're right, Jomo. Hinge is one of the most underrated players going around, I reckon. He's super consistent. He's been a little bit down this year, as most of Adelaide have been, but He's been unbelievable. The Giants game here 2 weeks ago was the best game I've seen him play, and he got into the votes too. You gave him some votes, I think, Jamo. But you can't replace Rankin, so they're just going to have to shuffle the decks around and try and find some X factor somewhere through the middle. But it's a contentious one, Jamo. Like we spoke about on radio today, 4 weeks. It is harsh. It's really hard. AFL have come out and said we don't want to see that.
Yeah,
you know, I thought 3 might have been.
But I think the thing, though, Brogues, is I'm all for the rules on how they are. But, again, I think a lot of the rules have been brought into, obviously, concussion, but also lining up blokes and almost the old day shirt fronting. But what I've gleaned across the last couple of years, and this is where the younger blokes or the little blokes get a bit yappy, because you almost need to put them back in your spot here. He was just running away. He can put all the pressure he wants onto Isaac Rankin and belt him and do him around. So Isaac's taken off. And he took his eyes off Isaac for a little bit. And he stopped and came back.
Yeah.
But he wasn't prepared and wasn't watching. And I think that's the thing that I feel is missing a little bit. You know, like blokes just go at it and know that they're actually not going to cop anything back at the moment too. So there's got to be the balance of, you're going to get that heavy tag, I'm going to give something back as well. Now, head high, it was a hip and shoulder which caught him completely off guard. And he sort of stopped. And I've seen... Like you've seen a couple of the smaller, like a Lockie Murphy and an Isaac, they've got enormous power. Stop, bang, hold him up. So I just think the 4 games was incredibly severe. Maybe he deserved 1 or a reprimand, but 4 was ridiculous.
Yeah, but he's 20 metres off the ball. If you're running 20 metres off the ball, do you expect to get hit? Well, when you're running actually away from the play?
But this is the thing, you've got to have your awareness piece about it. Like he's put 20 metres off the ball, the stuff that we didn't see, he was probably into Isaac Rankin for 2.5 quarters.
Then it comes back to the umpires to police that. And you're right, it does happen. You see it all the time.
I think what you're saying, Jamo, is it's not a great look for the game, but you're just saying 4 weeks was way too hard.
Yeah.
You're saying he should have got suspended, but just not 4 weeks.
Well, I think a reprimand, when you look at it, again...
Are you saying he shouldn't have got suspended at all?
No.
Oh.
I don't know the medical report as to how he ended up, but I don't think it was head high, was it?
It was a head clash.
It was a head clash.
It was a shirt front that was supposed to be body on body, and unlucky for Isaac Rankin that because he initiated the contact so far from the ball, it's deemed intentional, and because of the head clash that resulted in a concussion, it's the 4 weeks. I think it's the accumulation of a couple of unlucky factors, but ultimately he made the wrong decision.
Well, yes, he made the wrong decision. So, yes, there would have been either a reprimand or a penalty. But see, we talk like with the umpire, we were just talking briefly about the SNFL football here today, and Glenelg went down to Port Adelaide. Port Adelaide only won 3 games for the season. But last week, the number 1 ruckman for Glenelg got a head clash and got a fracture through the cheekbone. Not even a free. When it was reviewed, they go it was accidental, so they let it go. I look after the women's program. We had a lady that did that. She went in, tackled, accidental head clash, and they give her a game. Now, that's the same governing body that oversees, but you've got one to the other, and it's exactly the same.
This comes back to the Isaac Heaney suspension, the confusion around the MRO, the tribunal and the appeals system. I don't think any of the players understand what could cost them numerous weeks at the moment because it's so indecisive and unpredictable.
Well, I think a lot have been talking about, like, Jimmy Webster in terms of his posture standing behind, and if he was standing up straight, he threw his arm around, he was probably going to get him mid-drift.
Yeah,
or an arm
I thought
or
the Heaney one, I thought he would have got off, to tell you the truth, when they appealed it. I was really surprised that he got a week for that. Jamo, we played in a day where a lot of that stuff off ball happened all the time. I just think, we spoke about it on radio this morning, the actual genuine tag is back. Like, all the dirty tricks behind the ball and, standing on feet and punching you in the back, in the ribs, and, when you're trying to run, they're hanging on to you. So it's actually back in vogue at the moment. So, you look at Butters' fine history. Now, a couple of them he's been bumped in the umpire on that, but he's doing something every week, Butters. But a caller texted in the program today and said, well, what about all the stuff that's happening off the ball for Rankin to do that?
It's the old tag tactics that don't match the current day behaviour model.
Correct. So these players are just going to have to learn from it, and that's a big learning lesson for Rankin. I was only saying this morning on radio, Gemmo, like, when he gets a full go at it, this guy's going to be unbelievable. Yeah. He's come off a hamstring. He's come back and played some of the best footy come back off his hamstring, and now he's going to miss another 4 weeks. I just want to see him have a good run at it, good pre-season, and because he's only going to come back for 3 games and something. So, yeah, really disappointing because it's probably going to hurt his All-Australian.
Speaking about getting a good run at it, Jamo, Riley Thilthorpe is the sub tonight, but it's so good to see him out there after the knee injury at the start of the campaign, and he looks like a monster. He's Crossy refers to him as the bear, I'm the man mountain, but regardless of however you want to describe him, he's an imposing figure. And when we do see him tonight, the hope is that he can back up that SANFL form and start to build into the year.
Well, he's 22, 201 centimetres, and you can't see how much he weighs, but I think he's around about 105. So just in terms of size, and then he stands and puts his hands up. He's incredibly tall. His work ethic is amazing. I don't think it was this year, but maybe last year, he went off and did 100 hundreds on his own.
Yeah.
And he's always had that. And I think at times the club's always had to pull him back a little bit with his growth. And as his body changes, and just physically, and looking at him now, he's got this monster beard. Yeah. I saw him firsthand against
Charlie Dixon.
Oh, it is. And he's incredibly mobile. So I think, to your point around Isaac, I think when Riley gets a run at it too and gets some really good form, and that's what the club was hoping this year because he had a tremendous pre-season. Then he does his knee and then he has to work back into it.
Gemma, we don't know his weight. My impression is he'd find down, since he'd come to the club, he'd find down, and now he's put on, everything he's put on is muscle, whereas he got rid of the puppy fat sort of thing when he first came to the club.
Gemma, coming off a knee injury, when you're in rehab for a long time, you learn good habits. You learn how to train and look after yourself from a different perspective, and you appreciate the game a lot more. So I can't wait to see the back end of these 6-7 weeks because I think he's going to be a superstar of competition. He's just going to need time. And what he can do tonight, who knows, being the sub, but it's just good to see him back out playing footy and good for the Adelaide Football Club.
Well, I think they'll play him more forward. They might play him a high half or a mid, but I don't know if you want to see him. They wouldn't put him in the ruck, I think, just at the moment. So they'll manage his time, but wherever it will be, he provides that almost another midfielder with that big body and muscle and option.
Thoughts of Crows Premiership player Rod Jamieson and Port Premiership ruckman Dean Brogan, your experts tonight for Saturday night footy on ABC Sport. Aaron Bryans and Neil Cross calling the action. We'll have Braden Ingram downstairs as well across the evening. Adelaide won the coin toss. They'll be kicking to the southern end or the right-hand side of your radio dial. There are no late changes. The subs, Thilthorpe and Patton for the Crows of the Saints. It is NAIDOC week as well, so both sides wearing their Indigenous Guernseys. We'll run through them across the call. And the text line 0437 774 774. There is another game on over at the MCG. Melbourne and Essendon starting soon. No late changes there either, and we'll give you some scores throughout the call tonight. Adelaide and St Kilda, the battle to avoid the bottom four. Who wants it more under the Saturday night spotlight? Neil Cross to kick things off on ABC Sport.
Down goes the ball. And up rises O'Brien to knock it down. Scramble now in the middle. Through came Burns for St Kilda. Finally, Sinclair picked it up. Couldn't get a clean disposal away. What does the umpire rule? He says, give it to me. So I have a secondary ball up still in the centre square.
O'Brien wrestling for position, won it down. Bounced off Laird, entangled with Filippo. Trickles towards the centre square once again. Burns charges in with Dowling right behind him. Neither can gather cleanly. And Saligo's wrapped up.
Looking forward to the ruck battle tonight. I really rate Marshall as probably one of the premier ruckmen of the competition, and O'Brien's been in good form as well.
Marshall wins at that time, but only found Berry. Now to his skipper Dawson. Hacks it around the body. Bouncing up towards the 50 for the Crows. 2 on 2 there. Underneath it. The tackle laid on Murphy. Wanganeen Miller are right behind him as the shadow. Holds things up in front of the Rashudo stand.
A little bit of mist around the stadium tonight. It's knocked into Adelaide's forward line, picked up by Dawson, trying to get a kick in the tackle close to the boundary line, about 30 around from the goal face in the left forward pocket. We'll get a throw in. Yeah, that fog was in this morning and then it lifted, and I reckon tomorrow morning it might be fairly foggy again because you can see it settling over the stadium.
I had a little late night last night and I woke up this morning and go, oh, my eyes are bad. I'm glad it was the fog.
Will it be the fog tonight? Toss back in, Marshall to Filippo, who hands it off, and the exit comes from St Kilda. Very poor kick though from Sinclair, and out on the full.
They're better play than that too, Jack Sinclair.
The two-time best and fairest for the Saints gives it away, and Murray will pound it back in with a high ball. Pat converges in the left forward pocket, slipped through Fogarty's hands. Howard at the back, jams it out of there. Awkward bounce for Owens, and racing by is Murray, trying to barge through 3 tacklers. Drops the footy, play continues. Missing the boot. Was battle, and it rolls over the boundary line, 40 out. Left forward pocket for the Crows. No score so far in the opening 2 minutes.
He just forgot where he was there, Murray, a little bit. He's running in. I thought he was going to have a shot on goal. I was like, what are you doing on the forward line? They made a swap.
It's his 50th game too, so congratulations. Talking about coming back off a knee reconstruction, so loves the contest.
3 inside 50s early for Adelaide in the ruck contest. Marshall and O'Brien take it straight back over the line. As you were, throw it in.
Actually, I would like 2 or 3, maybe even 4 Nick Murray's. The size, and just loves the contest and wants to take it on.
I think we already know that he hasn't lost the spring that he has through that reconstruction. Boundary umpire hurls it in again. Comes straight down off the ruckman, picked up by Fogarty. Tried to slip it over the top. Battle got a hand in, picked up by Keys. Just put a ball 25 from goal off. Hands it came to Sinclair. Non-preferred left foot. Clears the area into open space.
Bit of backspin, so it'll sit up on centre wing. Saligo gathers and turns into the tackle of Wood. Bounced off him and gives it to Smith. Racing towards half forward for the Crows. Dawson flies across the pack, can't clunk it. Spilled to Wanganeen Miller. Missed the boot, trying to get to Howard. Dawson diving handball to Berry. Off a step from 40, misses. Minor score on the right-hand side. Gets things underway. 3 minutes in, Adelaide by a point. Over at the MCG, the D's led the Bombers by 6.
He just needed to lower his eyes a bit then, Berry. He had Taylor Walker in the goal square, but he decided to have a shot, which he's probably had the right to, but if he just lowered his eyes a little bit, Adelaide would have had a certain goal then.
So St Kilda through Sinclair, went short to Wanganeen Miller, and then his long kick off the pack and over the line on centre wing out on the eastern side of the Adelaide Oval. Good crowd in, but not a great crowd, you'd say. A cold Saturday night in Adelaide. Off the ruck contest, Laird got a foot to the ball towards the 50, picked up and given by Berry to Walker. Couldn't get a decent kick away. Still outside 50. It's fallen to Walker again. Inside 50, he goes with a kick into the path of Fogarty, but too far in front of him. And tapped over the line deliberately. Yes, says the umpire. Bonner penalised. 20 around from the goal face, right forward pocket. And I tell you what, Scholl is good off both feet, and he's got a chance here. I reckon he might use the left foot.
Probably a little lucky even further too. Dougal Howard, that handball back over there on the other side. Didn't have enough time, got tackled.
Scholl has gone with the left foot, around the corner, sneaks it around the goalpost for the opener. Brilliant finish, great skills. Adelaide 1-1-7. St Kilda yet to score. It's been all Adelaide in the opening 4 minutes.
Oh, that's a great goal. Not many goals are kicked from that pocket. Right-hand side. He's been a good player, Scholl, isn't he? He's really found some form over the last sort of month or so, and Yeah, that was a deliberate out of bounds by Riley Bonner. He didn't even try and disguise that. So right decision by the umpire and good finish. And Adelaide have started really well.
Getting experience like his shoal now, 68th game. He's been around 4 or 5 years. But what I've liked from Adelaide already, only early in this first quarter, as they've played the football in their first half. And we know that the Saints are a tremendous defensive side. They just haven't been able to get it up across past the centre or to the centre half forward.
Thoughts of premiership players, Rod Jamieson, Dean Brogan. Saturday night footy on ABC Sport, and out of the middle, Steele is dancing out of trouble. Got through Saligo, and the skipper for the Saints sends them inside 50. Big fist from Butts as he rises above the pack. It'll trickle in front of the scoreboard, and Wilson with a nice overhead handball look to keep it in. Membry too much momentum, and he races over the boundary line. Adelaide by 7. The text line 0437 774 774.
Hugh Bond started on the ground, picking up Darcy Wilson, who is dangerous. He's kicked 11 goals up forward for the Saints.
Marshall takes up front position off the ball. Berry hands on head because he knocked over Henry. It'll be a free kick to the St Kilda player. Just to the right of the contest, Henry was making his way through, and straight away Berry knew, whoops, I'm in trouble here.
He just sort of grabbed him. He was going hard for a stoppage, and
in fact, it's going to Marshall off the ruck contest. So I don't know how that's come about, because all I saw was Henry going down and he thought he had the free kick, and so did Brogues.
That's bizarre.
So Riley O'Brien, they've deemed to be holding on.
But Henry got slung to the ground as well at the same time, so interesting.
So Marshall, now all this is about 45-degree angle. Marshall comes in from about 35 metres out. The big ruckman, and he has just sprayed it across the goal face for the minus score. St Kilda's opener comes after 7 minutes. It's 1-1-7 for the Crows, and St Kilda just have one behind.
Saturday night footy on ABC Sport. Keane to the right back pocket. Now a long ball from Murray up through the broadcast wing. Underneath it, Webster and Fogarty knocked away from the ladder. And a quick tackle will hold up Riley Bonner. Back in South Australia once again.
It's a monster roost, that one. He's kicked that about 65 metres.
He's having a pretty impressive return, Nick Murray. Out of the stoppage, Bonner gets a quick kick towards left half forward for the Saints. Squeezing with the boundary line. Owens couldn't clunk it. Murray again. Hands it off to Saligo for the Crows. Looks inside. Michael Lanny has to sky it around the body. Sitting up just forward of centre wing for the Saints. Phillippo crunched at the ball drop. Fogarty bowled him over, and a free kick to the young man. Out of Woodville, West Torrens. Picked 10 a couple of years ago. Heads back on the 45. Finds Schoenmaker.
His dad and uncle played there as well.
Schoenmaker back to centre half back all the way to Wilkie. Another former South Australian. North Adelaide product, won a premiership here a few years ago, 2018. Now they go around the other side of the ground, a chip pass to Jones, who was met front on, and Curvis, or no, Dowling in fact it was. So Jones just slightly ahead of centre wing for St Kilda on the eastern side of the ground. Looks up, has no option, so he goes backwards to Battle. He goes inboard to Dougal Howard, inside the centre square, back end for St Kilda, slowing things down and just holding possession.
They've had 3 kicks, and here they're going to have 4, and I don't even think they've gone forward.
They're going nowhere.
Howard to Schoenmaker, then Wilkie through the broadcast wing, finally sends it forward. No one knew where it was going except for Keane. Big fist landed in the lap of Henry's kicker tunneler, and only found Bonds. Quick exit on debut, but it wasn't clean, and finds Jack Steele. Opens the angle a bit around Dawson, and the Saints skipper squares it up. Owens rose, couldn't clunk it. Spilled down Dowling's handball, a hospital one, and a big tackle laid on Smith, holding the ball. Free kick to Cooper Sharman. Not a lot of time there for the veteran Crow. Given it, took a step, run down. And 25 out from goal. The Saints will have a set shot.
I like Cooper Sharman. He's become a pretty good player for the Saints up forward. He's certainly a target in the air. Great defensive work. Actually, the umpire that was adjudicating in the middle of the ground actually let it go.
Spent a bit of time in the sandfill as well with Woodville West Torrens. Cooper Sharman. Sharman comes in, drills it low and hard from 30. And the Saints level it up at the 10-minute mark. 1-1-7 apiece. Opening terms, Saturday night footy on ABC Sport. Your experts, premiership players, Rod Jamieson and Dean Brogan.
Well, St Kilda, they went one side to the other side back, and we were saying, well, they're not going anywhere, but they've come with a clear plan, and we know St Kilda, they like to keep the ball off you and play a patient sort of game, and it was a really good build-up in the end. They kicked it long down the line, front come, got the ball inside 50, and then they'll lock it in there, and you get a pressure tackle and great finish. So last 5 minutes, St Kilda have got their game going.
Jack Steele is the one that intercepted the poor kick from Adelaide coming out of defence. Puts it out in front of goal.
Back in the middle. Scores 1-1-7 apiece. O'Brien goes at it, brings it down. Jones is over the ball. He's dropped it in a tackle of two, and the umpire said play on. Riley O'Brien got a foot in there. Berry got a body in there, and Jones got him with a tackle. So just outside the centre circles, slightly towards St Kilda's end, the ball goes in the air again.
Tap down towards the centre circle and only goes about 2 metres before Dawson's in a sandwich.
I think one of the things Adelaide need to do in these types of congested areas, I think the Saints are pretty happy just to fight it out. Like, just get the fist on it and get it out of the area.
Scores level. O'Brien wins it down and Michael Annie arches the back. Searing kick towards the 50. Walker underneath it, had Wilkie to beat, knocked away. Battle thought he may have got a hand in there and tried to claim the juggling mark. Umpire wasn't having it and he's wrapped up by a couple. So we're just inside the 50 now for the Crows. Left forward pocket. Marshall first as it's tossed into the air. Taps it down to Burns and a quick kick out of there. Rush straight towards Wilson. One of the favourites for the Rising Star with so many of the big name acts suspended as he goes up the outer wing. Not sure who to. Bounces wide of Sharman. Has to race onto it. Handed it to Wood. Screwing it around the body, bounces straight to Bonner, the double tap to Higgins, caught in the tackle, got a snap, but it only carries about 5 metres to Scholl. He's got it in front of the scoreboard and time to compose himself. Dangerous kick in the end anyway, low and hard towards the paint of 50. Knocked to ground by Hunter Clark. Spills out, maybe thrown. Brodie Smith was waiting anyway. Down the line, Dawson with the sit, couldn't reel it in. Trickles to the back, Clark's there for the Saints. High back towards the 50. 2-on-1, they have the outnumber, but Sharman couldn't claim it. Knocked away towards the centre square. O'Brien charges in, he can't control it. Fogarty can, rips it away and hands it to Saligo. Here they come on the rebound. Kick wasn't great. Walker keeps fighting for it with Wilkie. Beautiful paddle towards Rochelle. Has to be clean. Good gather. Handball wasn't great. Straight to Schoenmaker. The Saints under a bit of pressure here. They've got the numbers in defensive 50. And they've done well to get out of dodge. Schoenmaker to the broadcast wing.
Kicks it long, Membry the target. He's well manned by Butts, goes after it on the ground, can't slap it away, and then he did slap it away from one of his own. Jones on the ground, slid in, hand passed up to Butler. Line won the day, so we'll get a boundary throw in to right half forward for Adelaide. Members side of the ground, the cricket members, I guess, more than anything else on this broadcast side. As in comes the ball. O'Brien takes up the front position. Berry on the ground, battling away. Support from Taylor. He holds on to the ball. And coming the other way was Clark.
Bombers by 5 at the G. You can hear it on the ABC Listen app through the AFL button. O'Brien wins it down. Towed towards Rochelle. Beaten to it by Wanganeen Miller. A beautiful handball. Slick to Higgins. And now Clark. Here they come up the spine, the Saints. Sharman marks wide of the centre circle and dummies past Keane. Kicked in the path of Henry, who was racing forward. Didn't get there in time. Nankervis cuts it off. Gave it to Smith, 2 to beat. He's wrestling and shrugging, but runs out of room and brought to ground. 25 out from the Saints goal, right forward pocket.
He just needed to kick that long, Sharman. He tried to hit a little 15-metre pass inside 50. When he had someone one-on-one at the top of the square, he needed to hit that top of the square.
Off the ruck contest, Jones tried to burst through the pack in the end tackle, got a hand pass out to Butler, who was smothered as well. Mason Wood may have been the forward target that he should have gone to because he gave his teammate Sharman a blast. And the ball's in the air again. Berry takes it off the pack for Adelaide. Delivers it towards centre wing. Well, there was interference there by Cook. And the free kick to Schoenmaker, who started well for the Saints. Reputation of having an excellent left foot.
He does.
The Tasmanian, with his 5th touch on the 45, is direct. Straight to Wanganeen Miller up.
Good to see Mason Wood back. I know he's been back for a few weeks. Remember an early incident in the year where he...
Collarbone.
Himself.
Scores level. Wanganeen Miller sends it inside 50 for the Saints. Big fist from Nankervis towards the boundary line. Relented in his run for it, hoping he'd get there. Sat up a little bit and O'Brien had to do the dirty work. Saturday night footy on ABC Sport. Aaron Bryans and Neil Cross with you. Your experts, Rod Jamieson, Dean Brogan. Adelaide and St Kilda. It's part of the doubleheader tonight. Earlier, the Western Bulldogs beating Carlton by 14 points. It's shaken up the 8 again. Toss back in. O'Brien wins it down from behind. Zach Jones there at the fall of the footy. One of the Saints' 2 ins. Can't control it. Taylor now trying to get out of defensive 50. The handball to Berry. Put him under a bit of pressure from Clark, and he's escorted over the boundary line in front of the Wanganeen stand.
Not a whole lot of attacking football just at the minute.
Well, there's just a lot of numbers around the footy. As we know, St Kilda likes to bring some extra numbers around the football, so it makes it really hard to get clean footy out of the stoppages.
O'Brien down to Clark. He's wrapped up by Berry. We'll get a ball up. On the text line, Joe, who's a Port member in the York Peninsula, says, hi team, listening to the pre-game talk about Rankin, everyone forgot about Sam Pepper, who was the first to get a 4-match suspension for a high bump, and that was a statement by the AFL. So much for consistency.
Oh, no, but he knocked out the opponent with that one.
Off the ground, meanwhile, the Saints will get a goal. They hacked it out of the ruck contest down towards the goal face, and I think it might have been Wood who got it through in the end. He just slotted it off the left foot as the ball was at his feet, and the Saints take a lead. 2-1-13, Adelaide 1-1-7. Bit of a shock as we get to the 16-minute mark of the quarter.
In the end, it was actually a really good spoil, I think, by Nankervis. He was able to do that, but Mason Wood, once again, as we've seen him do many times, back with the flight of the football, almost took the mark, but the follow-up effort is what got him
great recovery for a big fella, wasn't it? Yeah, the stoppage work from St Kilda's looking pretty good. You know, it's only 7-5, but when they do get out, they are looking a little bit more dangerous than Adelaide. And like we said, they bring a lot of numbers around the football, but that's their brand and they're good at it.
Quick one out of the stoppage, and the Saints are in front. Awkward bounce in the middle as Owens battles with Elliot Himmelberg. The latter wins it down to Dawson for the Crows, handing it to Michaelani. Now Bond, another touch for him. Gives it off to Dowling, around the body high. Just a rushed kick. Players converge and it hits the deck. Front and square Laird, bounced off his toes. Zach Jones now, beautiful in traffic. Got out of there. A tumbler through centre wing though with the errant kick. Bond ran over the footy and lost his balance. Sharman tries to paddle it to Jones. Ricochets out towards Wilson. Hollywood handball to Clark. Back towards Sharman. It's pinballing around and it's very messy footy right now. Finally got out of there through the Crows and out on the full. A quick kick around the body from Mark Keane. And the free kick against him in front of the Bashir stand. Saints by 6, and they're headed towards the attacking 50 again.
Well, they've started really well in this quarter too, just winning a lot of the hard stuff, which is the contested and the ground ball gets, and the tackling well in on top of Adelaide.
So battle inboard to Wanganeen Miller, who then went outboard to battle again, and now he goes long and a huge pack. Himmelberg was in there and picked it up off the ground and then was immediately tackled at the top of the 50. Out on the right half forward flank for St Kilda off the ruck contest. Hunter was thrown around in there, was Hunter Clark, and then it went back to Jones. Then the umpire spotted a free kick as he kicks the ball down the ground, and Adelaide will get it through Butts. So a little bit of relief for the Crows. The last 5 minutes they've been under siege somewhat.
Down by 6, approaching time on. Saturday night footy on ABC Sport. Down the line on the outer side, Dawson Rose, spoilt late by Howard. Spilled down towards Wilson, trying the 1-2 with Owens, but it didn't come back to him. He's bowled over by Keys on the centre wing logo. Himmelberg got a rushed kick straight to Walker, landed in his lap. He wanted to go. Huge fend off of Wilkie. Dumps him with the don't argue into the 50. Bounce straight to Murphy. Hands it off. Taylor surging by. Kick was low and hard. He should have gone for goal. Tried to find Keys. He's brought down in the show and make a tackle. Right forward pocket, 15 out. It bounces off Shoal and over the boundary line. Taylor was 20 out straight in front, racing by, and tried to give it off, and in the end we're getting a boundary throw in.
That's one of the best don't argues I've ever seen, I reckon. He's absolutely put him on his back.
I think
Tex Walker.
Wilkie should have jumped into him, didn't he? He's left the ground, so he lost his stability. And
WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Ball comes back into play, holding in the ruck contest. Walker, the umpire said he shepherded the ball without touching it. Well, it actually came off his foot. In any case, Owens with the free kick, dropped it wide straight away. Schoenmaker has an opportunity now from the mark on this on the broadcast side of the ground. Goes long. Himmelberg over the back, knocks it down the front. And Filippo gets it and tumbles a kick forward. It goes out of bounds before Sharman can pull in a mark. And near the interchange gates, we'll get a throw in. It's a 6-point lead for St Kilda. We go down to the boundary for the first time tonight. Braden Ingram.
Yeah, not a warm night. It's around 10 degrees, and it looks like there's a bit of a rain band headed this way, and you can see the dew sitting on top of the grass, so it will be a slippery one for the players.
Saints by 6. Marshall tried to tap it down in the path of Clark running by, but beaten to it by Saligo, who slides in, pushes it over the boundary line. Bombers by 12 at the MCG over the D's. First quarter there, you can hear it on the ABC Listen app through the AFL button. Saints by 6 here, still 7 minutes to go.
Correct, and they're just almost 20 disposals ahead, and their efficiency by foot is 20% better than Adelaide's at the moment.
Marshall caught in a bear hug in the ruck contest, just got a hand to the ball drop, and there's a free kick anyway going to the Saints. Jack Steele held up by Jordan Dawson. He hands it off to Schoenmaker running by. Into the 50 they go, they all fly, hits the deck. Butler tried to volley it, only found Keane. He tumbles one back to Dawson at right half back. Kick a little too hot for Fogarty. Over his head, did well to keep fighting. Caught in the tackle by Howard. Close to the boundary line, holding the ball. He picked it up and was brought to ground immediately. Fans incensed at the Adelaide Oval. And St Kilda will receive the peel up by 6.
Dougal Howard with Fogarty doing a turtle there. He's just caught on his back with nowhere to go. Dougal Howard into the pocket with his kick. And Sharman has a 2-grab mark.
It's almost like a cockroach, wasn't he? He was on his back and couldn't do anything. Tough decision.
They're edging contested possessions well in St Kilda's favour. Clearances are in favour of St Kilda. Tackles, uncontested possession, ground balls. They're just starting to win all the KPIs that say you're in for a good night. St Kilda are ticking them very well at the moment.
What about marks? We're at the moment 2 to Adelaide, 16 to the Saints.
So Sharman coming in from over the boundary line for his 6th possession of the night. It's off the outer side of the foot and it lands just in the hands of Marshall. Reached up over the pack, one grab and then a second. And he's got it barely 15 metres out just to the right.
Well, that was too easy in the end. Elliot Himmelberg was his immediate opponent. Riley O'Brien is having a rest on the bench, but just to take a mark overhead like that would be disappointing.
7 goals, 6 for the season already with a behind in this game. In comes Marshall. And he makes the goal. Umpire do a lot of work. He's missed it. Shaky shot from 15 out from Rowan Marshall. And they've just put another behind on the board. 2-2-14 for the Saints. Adelaide 1-1-7. We're into time on in the opening quarter.
He's missed 2 sitters.
He's a better kick than that. He'd be really disappointed with that one, obviously.
Keane goes long to the broadcast swing. Ball to grass and sliding in. Sinclair's wrapped up by Berry. Relishing the midfield minutes at the moment, averaging 20 touches across the last fortnight as it's tossed into the air. Saints by 7. Marshall down to Bonner. Trickles one through up towards left half forward. And unfortunately, Sharman couldn't get there in time with Bond right behind him.
We're not surprised, Aaron, too. Just a bit of physical work from the Saints in and around the contest. Every time they come in, it's either Jack Steele doing it or Zach Jones just pushing their opponents.
Tossed in, cleared both rucks at the back. Cook, clean gather, wrapped up by Henry, got a handball out, cut off by Sinclair. Big spun and very good by Cook to hold him up. And they paid dangerous tackle. He'd spun him and it looked like it was going to be a dump and he actually held him off the ground. That was the perfect tackle.
This is what makes players like confused and us as commentating. That was just nowhere near a free kick.
Sinclair sends them inside 50, looking for Sharman, spilt through the back. Burns tried the no-look handball off. Butler wasn't ready for it and then had to volley towards the goal line, and in the end it's rolled over the boundary in front of the scoreboard. So it'll be tossed back into play. Saints by 7. Saturday night footy on ABC Sport. Aaron Bryans, Neil Cross, and Premiership players Rod Jamison, Dean Brogan with you.
Ross Lyon would be stoked with the way the Saints have started this. They are just almost keeping it in their forward half, 42% possession.
Ball comes back in the play. Down the front of Billy Dowling. He held the ball momentarily and as he was swung in the tackle. And the umpire says that's enough. We'll ball it up. Marshall with a tap down to Butler. Didn't take clean possession. Berry did, and he was slung to ground. Meanwhile, off the ball, Butler threw himself to ground, and Murray, or rather, it was Murray who stood over him and said, "Get up." Ball down off the ruck contest again towards the boundary. Berry picked it up, was quickly taken in a tackle across the line. So we get a throw in the scoreboard pocket at the Adelaide Oval. 25 minutes gone in the opening quarter. As we thought might be the case, low-scoring game. 2-2 plays 1-1, Saints up.
Tackles +9 in favour of the Saints, +14 contested. Clearances +6, all the Saints' way.
Tossed in, shallow drop. O'Brien gets there, tapped it straight towards Wilson though. Missed Higgins with that tackle. They've given it straight back though. Bonner, quick kick off a step from 20 out of the full. Oh, they were lucky there, the Crows. Free kick right back pocket. They're down by 7. We close in on quarter time. Saturday night footy on ABC Sport. At the MCG, the Bombers lead the Demons by 7 as Nankervis goes long to right half back. Rising Butts couldn't claim it. Trickled down and Murphy's happy to let it roll over. Mateus Filippo, we touched on it in the pre-game. Fresh off 26 last week and 10 coaches' votes. 7 disposals, 3 tackles already in this opening term. Ari Schoenmaker in his 4th game has 7 as well. The young stars for the Saints.
Ross Lyon sitting down and having a look at the stats, was having a bit of a laugh to himself.
Tossed in, Marshall paddled it straight to the bootlaces of Murphy. Didn't mean to, but he socketed it down the line on the broadcast wing. The Saints have numbers though. Nice little chain. Bonner to Sinclair. Forward to Wood. He can release Steele. Charging by. 50 out. Unselfishly squares it up. And crunched was Sharman. Flying for the footy. His opponent had his back to the drop. And he'll receive the free kick straight in front. 25 out.
Well, they're just winning the contest, basically. It's as simple as that. Adelaide aren't great in the contest at the moment, and we know with St Kilda, that's what they do. They put numbers around the footy, and they make it a scrappy contest. So Adelaide would want to be up for the fight, otherwise this could be a long night.
Slick around there. The handball's really there. The carry, 3 or 4 uncontested.
Sharman trots in, straight as an arrow, as he drives it over the goal umpire's hat. And the Saints have the last 4, or 3 of the game rather, and they're up by 13 through Sharman's second. 3-2-20. The Crows 1-1-7. Still 2 and a bit to play in this opening term. Saturday night footy on ABC Sport. Your experts, Premiership players, Rod Jamison and Dean Brogan.
Well, Mateus Filippo again, another disposal there in the contest. Wanted to go on the outside, came back in and then had all the runners and support through there. I think it was Jack Steele who took the mark, quick handball, or received the handball.
Yeah, he's the one that kicked the ball in. It was a beautiful inside 50 kick from Jack Steele. But there'd be alarm bells going off everywhere in the Adelaide coaches box. And you called it just before, Jamo. At St Kilda, 18 marks, Adelaide 2.
Just controlling the football.
8 possessions for Philippou, 7 for Schoenmaker, and Sharman's the other one up there in terms of stats as Saints go forward, but Adelaide turn them around. Rochelle finds Cook, forward hand pass, finds the big ruckman in O'Brien. He just puts it on the boot, up forward, almost taken at the front by Fogarty, released by Dowling, the hand pass off the Rochelle, in towards centre half forward as a scrubby kick picked up by Jones, clears the area. Cook marks it for Adelaide on the chest just in front of centre wing. Centres up straight away. Smith with the ball just ahead of centre. Slowing, waiting, looking, now belts it long. Fogarty comes, tries to meet it off hands. Murphy slides the ball through for the goal. Outside of the boot from Lockie Murphy, straight off the pack. And well done. Adelaide get one back. 2-1-13. St Kilda 3-2-20 On ABC Sport, your experts Rod Jamieson and Dean Brogan.
Well, inside 50's 13-9 in favour of the Saints. So I think overall, Ross Lyon I would have thought that the Saints would have had a far greater lead. It's only the 7 points at the moment, but they've absolutely dominated and controlled this first quarter. And I guess that's probably the first time that Adelaide, through that motion of just working its way forward, Fogarty up under the football and Lockie Murphy just hitting the contest, unlucky to get his foot through it.
Perfect small crummers goal, wasn't it? I didn't recognise Lockie Murphy. No, he's wearing the short sleeve instead of the long sleeve. I think if you're ever going to wear a long sleeve, wouldn't tonight be the night?
There's a fair few Saints out there donning it.
Josh Rochelle has too. He's been to the barber.
St Kilda by 7. Marshall wins it down and Jones is set upon by a couple of Crows. So Lockie Murphy's goal snaps the 3-game goalless streak back on the board. One of the leadership group members for the Adelaide Crows as it's tossed up in the middle and Steele's brought to ground by Laird. Over at the G quarter time, the Bombers lead the Ds by a point. You can hear it on the ABC Listen app through the AFL button. Taylor fumbles in the middle. Clark pounces, hands it to Henry. Now Marshall around the body for the Saints. High up to half forward. Wood underneath it. Knocked away by Nankervis. Wilson was waiting. Gives it to Steele. Low snap around the body. It's tumbling past Higgins. Foot race onto the goal square. Good job from Bond. He eyed the target and knocked it through. And the minor score for the Saints. They're up by 8. 3-3-21. The Crows 2-1-13. 31 minutes played. Saturday night footy on ABC Sport.
He's been such a dangerous player this year, Jack Higgins. He's done a tremendous job with 27 goals and had a few touches.
Brodie Smith plays on, goes long, and Dawson takes a mark away from Jones. Now he plays on, goes around to his left foot, just gets it away before Butler chases him down. He was looking for Fogarty. The ball comes down from the punch from Wilkie. And Adelaide will turn it over again. Kick downfield came from Clark and intercepted there by Butts, who looks around. He's behind centre wing, not much time left in the quarter. He's looking for options.
Up to the pack, converging at right half forward. No one really knew where it was going. It spills to the back. Battle hands it to Marshall. Dump kick up to centre wing. Broadcast side at the moment. Smith a little 1-2 using Nankervis and then loads up. Long ball towards the 50 again. Very heavy. Cleared the pack. Trickles towards the arc. Wanganeen Miller are there for the Saints. Uses Webster. It's just volleyball right now. Through the wing, and finally the siren saves us. St Kilda with the hot start. They're up by 8 at quarter time. 3-3-21 to the Crows. 2-1-13 on a cold night in Adelaide. The goal scorers, 2 to Sharman, 1 to Wood. Meanwhile for the Crows, both individual, Murphy and Scholl with a goal apiece. The text line, if you want to get in touch, 0437 774 774. Earlier today, the Hawks defeated Fremantle by 13 points through James Sicily's 3 goals. Sam Mitchell with the masterstroke swinging him forward. The Swans demolished North Melbourne by 79 points at the SCG. And the Western Bulldogs defeated Carlton by 14 points without Adam Treloar, who was laid out with a calf injury. Shakes up the top 8 a little bit. The Bombers win tonight and Port Adelaide win tomorrow. Carlton will be out of the top 4. So in the run home that's got a good 13 teams in the hunt, every win matters, and Carlton may have just let one slip in Patrick Cripps' 200. We'll break it all down for you across the night, but here, all eyes on the Crows and the Saints. St Kilda lead by 8 on ABC Radio, Sport Digital and the ABC Listen app. This is Saturday Night Footy on ABC Sport.
Hey Google, play the footy on the ABC.
Did you know you can now listen to the footy on your smart speaker?
Oh, that is amazing!
Play ABC AFL.
Time to steady and pull the trigger!
Get the best call, the biggest experts in the game, every round of the AFL season.
Can he bend it back? You bet he can!
On your favourite station, ABC Radio. Your home for footy. Now on your smart speaker. This is ABC Sports coverage of the 2024 AFL season. Every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Inside 50, he goes with a kick into the path of Fogarty, but too far in front of him. And tapped over the line deliberately. Yes, says the umpire. Bonner penalised. 20 around from the goalface, right forward pocket. And I'll tell you what, Scholl is good off both feet. Scholl has gone with the left foot around the corner, sneaks it around the goalpost for the opener. Brilliant finish
Opens the angle a bit around Dawson, and the Saints skipper squares it up. Owens rose, couldn't clunk it. Spilled down Dowling's handball, a hospital one, and a big tackle late on Smith, holding the ball. Free kick to Cooper Sharman. Sharman comes in, drills it low and hard from 30, and the Saints level it up at the 10-minute mark. 1-1-7 apiece. Sharman trots in, straight as an arrow, as he drives it over the goal umpire's hat.
Smith with the ball just ahead of centre. Now belts it long. Fogarty comes it, tries to meet it off hands. Murphy slides the ball through for the goal.
The 2024 AFL Premiership season.
On your radio
ABC Sport Digital.
and on the ABC Listen app.
As expected, a low-scoring slugfest in a cold night in Adelaide. The Crows trail by 8. 2-1-13 to the Saints, 3-3-21. Although some of the young stars for the visitors shining. Mateus Filippo with 8, Ari Schoenmaker with 7, and Cooper Sharman, in the absence of Max King, has a double already in a contract year. So plenty of promise for these young Saints. The Crows, meanwhile, although their debutant Hugh Bonds looked lively and Riley Thilthorpe the sub tonight, concerning early around the stoppage. To break it all down, your experts, premiership players Rod Jamieson and Dean Brogan.
Well, Adelaide got off to a really nice start. Their first 5 minutes was all in their forward half, and had a real stranglehold on the game. And then once St Kilda got the ball in hand, they just started a bit of keeping off with Adelaide and frustrated them a little bit. And they're plus 22 in disposals, and they're winning all the KPIs. So their contest works good, their uncontested works good, their tackling's good. Their system around the footy looks pretty good tonight, and yet it's going to be a boring game, really, because they bring a lot of numbers around the contest and they make you earn every possession you get. That's what they like to do, and they're good at it.
Yeah, it's Liam Henry's particularly. He's the one that's coming up, playing that high half forward, getting his hands on the football around that contest, and they are. So just Filippo, Hunter Clark, we know Jack Steele, Liam Henry, and Wilkie's doing a tremendous job on Fogarty when it is going there. They've had 2 possessions each, but Fogarty just hasn't really been, he hasn't been able to take a mark where Wilkie's been able to run and just sort of negate him a little bit there. We asked Isaac Rankin, not playing tonight, but who's going to come? Saligo, for me, is the one that we all think is probably the next big thing in the centre. He's just had the 3 disposals in that first quarter. Reflective, Jordan Dawson's had the 6, but he's only going at 25%, which is really low for
his efficiency has been great tonight.
Yeah, and Brodie Smith, he's had the 8 disposals off the halfback line. Just the marks 18-2 at one point. It's now 18-6. Just again, the Saints controlling the football, using it better. Freeze 10-2 in St Kilda's way. So again, whether that's Adelaide undisciplined or it's just St Kilda getting their hands on the football first, but they're certainly winning the football back. Time and possession 48% to 25 in favour of the Saints. Inside 50s 14-6. So tremendous start by the Saints.
Yeah, and you're right, Jamo, with their forwards get up the ground. At times, there's only 3 forwards. Yeah. If you're looking at from where we sit, their forwards get really high, and they come around the stoppage. And then what happens then is they layer off a little bit, and it brings the Adelaide defenders up. So lots of numbers around the contest. And then when St Kilda go, they like to chain out and use the numbers. So Adelaide are just going to have to be a little bit smarter on what they do around the contest, because at the moment, the way it's going is St Kilda are going to absolutely smash them in contested ball. So, and that's all contest work. So, and Grambles as well, they're up in indicators on. So, yeah, really good start by St Kilda, and can they sustain it?
Hugh Bond, first game, 2 disposals, is deep in the square, picking up Jack Higgins.
St Kilda by 8 over at the MCG. Scores level between the Demons and the Bombers. Great to have your company for Saturday night footy on ABC Sport. Marshall wins it down in the middle to start the second term. He was looking for Filippo, wrapped up quickly by Berry. We'll try again just outside the centre circle. Marshall again paddles it down towards Bono, broke free of Scholl and gives it off to Henry. Check side out of the centre square towards half forward. Wood there, couldn't control it against Murray. Rolls back towards Wanganeen Miller and ripped out by Filippo. Got a handball clear, but it bounced straight off the tackler Dawson, who locked it into him and forced the holding the ball.
Already Liam Henry, once again, up around the contest, another disposal. You almost have to equalise and bring your immediate opponent up.
The Crows skipper into the 50, knocked down front and square. Murphy hands it to Walker, hooked around the body by shoulder. Himmelberg should have taken the chest mark, fights anyway, did his own crumb work, and around the body, snapped it through from 25. It was ugly, but Elliot Himmelberg made it work. 2-point game at the Adelaide Oval. The Saints 3-3-21 to the Crows 3-1-19. Braden Ingram downstairs for Saturday Night Footy on ABC Sport.
Well, Matthew Nicks has got the response he wanted because he came straight out of the box at quarter time and went to the players instead of waiting for the line coaches to address those players. It was a fairly stern message as well, so be pleased they've got on the board early.
Yeah, Braden, I'd have to agree with that too. Like, he had to go to him. Certainly the first 4 or 5 minutes, maybe it was Adelaide in their forward half, but after that the Saints were just too good. 1 minute in, again, Liam Henry is up, gets attached, but again, the skipper stands up, goes forward, and probably lucky in the end. Elliot Himmelberg dropped an absolute sitter. Good recovery, though.
Save the blushes by the snap. Ball back in the middle now, thump down. O'Brien comes over the top. Laird gathers immediately. Filippo took him in a tackle, and finally the umpire will come in, and still the ball is in the centre circles. I'll get the secondary ball up. Umpire quick to put it up. Came down, Michael Annie was there. He had it, lost it in the tackle. Steele took it. He was thrown to ground by Berry.
Well, they've got to make a decision here, Crossy, too. As you can see, Liam Henry at the back here. He goes straight behind the footy. Max Michael Annie stays on the other side, so it's a bit of roulette here.
O'Brien down to Dawson. Caught in the tackle from Filippo, so just dropped it on his boot. Trickles towards Wood. He gave it to Steele. Wobbler towards the 50 for the Saints. Diving across Sharman, couldn't reach the drop. Picked up cleanly by Membry, though. Looked to split the pack. Kick smothered by Michael Annie. And Dawson there for the ricochet. Caught high by Membry. Tried to keep fighting, but in the end, too much pressure. And he gives away the free kick in defensive 50.
I'm a Tim Membry fan. Love the way he plays. I love the way he gets up at it. He's a hard worker.
Saints by 2 as the Crows head up the broadcast wing. Fogarty the target, rising above him though, Howard, the former power defender. Looking right at home in Saints colours. Had 10 intercepts last week. There's another one for tonight.
He's more known for his punching power at one stage, but he's taken on the role of intercept mark here. And then he's kicked it down the line and out on the full. So Nankervis will take the free kick at half back for Adelaide. On this broadcast side of the ground. Looks inboard, thinks about it.
No.
Still thinking about it.
No chance. Set up well, the Saints.
Down the line he goes. Fogarty comes forward, runs under the ball. Comes out to Cook. Shared it backwards to Laird over the shoulder. Found a bit of grass, which was not easy to do with the number of Saints around the place. Wilkie gave the hand pass off to Battle, who sinks the slipper into the ball. High down to half forward. Numbers there. Comes off hands, Nankervis inboard with a hand pass, and then indecision by Michael Annie, wrapped up straight away. Henry with the free kick, right half forward for the Saints. Hand passes off to Bonner, goes straight to the top of the goals, off Owens, over the line. Out of the hands of Higgins in the end. Rush behind, we'll call it. The Saints extend that narrow margin out to 3 points. We've crossed over, what's that? 4 minutes in the second term.
Just Braden, keep an eye on Darcy Fogarty. He's just come to that bench. In that last contest, I think he's landed heavily on his back.
Come to me when you can.
Keen to a pack on the outer side. Off hands, it rolls towards the boundary line. Barry sliding with the tackle on Clark. Umpire circles. Crowd wanted ball and it won't be paid. We've seen a couple tonight that have gone against the Crows in similar circumstances. The umpire's settling a bit now under the Saturday night lights. Tap down to Dawson. Off a step. Kick out of the stoppage through the logo. Big tackle by Murphy. Brought down Webster. Came out towards Rochelle. Takes a bounce in the centre square. Holds up. Leans back on the kick. Perfectly weighted to Keys. Just couldn't reel it in against Wanganeen Millerer. And raced out of there with a rush kick from Wilkie. Back to the outer side. One-on-one Filippo and Dawson. What a matchup. Sprinkles towards Scholl, who can give it off to Laird. Back where it came from for the Crows. Too high for Murphy, and he jumped too early anyway. Spilled to the back to Webster, and he's caught another one high. Stray arm.
Not as tonight, isn't he?
Not as egregious as the Isaac Heaney one last week, but he's taking the intercept mark, and they'll switch through the defensive 50. The Saints by 3, Saturday night footy on ABC Sport.
He can't have another blood nose, can he? 2 weeks in a row.
I think it might be his eye, actually. So he might be seeing double now as the Saints work it to the broadcast side and then out the other side. It's in the hands of Burns, and he dropped it over the top, and Sharman's come up from the forward line. He's at half back now on the eastern side with the mark. Goes long with his kick. O'Brien comes over the top of Marshall. Berry with the crumb off his left foot over the shoulder. Sharman punches it away from Dawson down to Burns. Battle receives the hand pass. Back around on his right foot. Heads towards centre half forward. Over the back was Bond. Forward hand pass to O'Brien. Not sure that was the best target. O'Brien goes long. Rochelle clattered into. Crowd wanted a free kick, not forthcoming.
The Saints on the rebound. Shelley certainly was crunched, and he's managed to pop back up. Steele's taken the mark centre wing in front of the Bashir stand. Sends it into the left forward pocket. 2-on-2 there for the Saints. Wood couldn't control it. Knocked down towards Sharman. Screwed it around the body, looking for Henry. Knocked away from him. Ricochets to the goal square. Dowling unsure where it's going. It's bobbling around a couple. And he gets there in time to knock it through for the minus score on the left-hand side. Saints by 4. Saturday night footy on ABC Sport. Braden Ingram downstairs.
Yeah, they're just taping up Fogarty at the moment, so the boots come off. It's his right leg, so he should be right to get going, but just want to keep an eye on it. Certainly was sore after that contest.
Pretty handy. You've got another tall forward as a sub if he's no good.
Get him on.
Get him on.
Adelaide with Dowling goes down the line on this broadcast side. The Bronx cheers for the free kick, as Wanganeen Miller just launched on Dawson but didn't touch the ball. Dawson's kicked down the line looking for Walker. It's a little bit high, sat on his head. Wilkie calmly just knocked it over the boundary line.
It's a good
running
ball,
back there, number 44, Callum Wilkie. What a record he's got. Coming into the AFL, 126 games straight tonight. Sorry, Gemma.
No, you're just saying, your call is really right at the moment. When Adelaide are going forward, it's just they're sitting it on the head of the key forwards, and it's making it easy for the defence. And Callum Wilkie is a class defender.
Yeah, Dawson's been really off tonight with his kicking skills tonight, which is very unlike him.
Hold off the ball. Saligo, the offender, to Jones. A St Kilda free kick off the boundary throw-in. Up the broadcast wing. Trickles towards Nankervis. Hands it to Berry and back to Butts, and now Dowling's got 3 to beat. Close to the boundary line, forced to kick it around the body. Found Filippo, who turned it into a bone-crunching tackle. Saligo making amends as he holds things up at right half forward for the Saints.
There's only little things though, but Zach Jones then and the skipper, Jack Steele, just both all ripped up Mateus Filippo off the ground, just helped him up, pushed the Adelaide players aside.
Slapped out of the ruck contest forward by the Saints. It's cut off by Keane, who gives it straight back to Sinclair. A fumble into Dewey Knight. Managed to get it towards Filippo. From 60 eyes the big sticks. Off a step as well. Far wide and inaccurate. It's actually taken a bounce into the right-hand behind post. So will be tossed in at the Riverbank stand end. The Saints by 4. Saturday night footy on ABC Sport. Aaron Bryans and Neil Cross. Premiership players Rod Jamieson and Dean Brogan with you. We're about 10 out here. It's going to be tossed back into play. Charging out. Marshall at the drop. Tried to get it to Henry. Just missed him on the tap. Laird around the body. High. Floated towards Sinclair. Knew where it was going. Cuts it off, the two-time All-Australian. Thinking maybe he's in his range. Man on the marks. Bang on 50. And he's decided to take the set shot. Here we go. He's changed his mind last minute. Up to the left forward pocket. Spotted the lead of Filippo. Honoured it. Knocked away late. Butts caught the belly of the footy at the drop. Straight up and down. Marshall knows where it's going. Just knocked away late. Shoveled handball by O'Brien on the deck. Straight to Henry for the Saints. Now Burns from 50 spots Wood, who floated away from that stoppage all alone. 15 out, tight angle to the left.
They're seriously on, aren't they?
It was a great kick. He could have had a shot, but just lowered his eyes and found a better option. And I love players that are really unselfish inside 50. That was a very unselfish play. Put his teammate in a great position.
He's going to have a snap across his left shoulder here, using his right foot.
Wood opens the angle, snaps, and converts. The Saints push their lead to 10 points at the Adelaide Oval. 4-5-29 to the Crows, 3-1-19. 10 minutes into the second term. Saturday night footy on ABC Sport. Braden Ingram downstairs.
Could be about to see a flood of ponchos come out. The rain has just started to arrive, drizzle, but I think it's about to get stronger. Darcy Fogarty also back on the ground.
Yeah, I was going to make comment, actually. I didn't know again if it's my eyes or is it actually raining, Crossy?
It is drizzle, mizzle, that sort of mist it is at the moment.
Braden, for confirming.
A little bit of drizzle you can see through the lights. I'm glad we're in here than being out there. But look, St Kilda are looking sharp again this quarter, and they look a bit dangerous. Way better going forward than what Adelaide do when Adelaide go forward. Their efficiency going inside 50 is pretty good.
Aaron Bryans has got the ski gear on too tonight.
It's like an English summer's day out there. Owens in the middle, and they'll go down to half forward, the Saints, through the agency of Clark. Adelaide coming out, kicking it wide through Keane. It's out on the eastern side. Walker comes through. Hand passes off to Scholl down to half forward. Rochelle sits in front, takes the chest mark. Turns on the right foot into the scoreboard pocket. He's looking for Cook, who got rid of his man, and Wangeline Miller are helped out by coming over for the Saints and knocking it over the boundary line in that scoreboard pocket. Saints by 10 points, 11 minutes into the second term.
Over at the G, the Demons by 14 midway through the second against the Bombers. They trailed early. They fought back. Toss back in. O'Brien putting it in the path of Rochelle. Volleyed it off the deck. It's tumbling across the goal face. Charging across, Cook left it behind. Wilkie did well to gather. Hands it to Battle. It's very dewy out there with that misty rain. Just decided to play some soccer, and Bonner finally decided to pick it up and has caught Berry high in the process. Free kick to the Crows, 55 out. Berry wants to go. Races around him and honours the lead of Fogarty. Lace out. 20 from home. Big Fog has it slightly to the left.
That's exactly what Brogues and I were saying too. And Crossy, through your call, like he's just laced that in. It's a bullet-like. The defence of St Kilda are back there, but they don't have enough time to run and get at it. And Darcy Fogarty, we know, is a cracking mark on the lead, as is Taylor Walker when they put it out in front.
Fogarty comes in. Little stutter. Gets close to the man on the mark. It won't hurt him. He has his first of the night and his 11th in the last 5. Margin back down to 4. Saints 4-5-29 and the Crows 4-1-25. Saturday night footy on ABC Sport. Your experts, premiership players, Rod Jamieson and Dean Brogan.
Yeah, look, it was a fantastic kick. It actually, kicks like that inside the forward 50, they actually force the forward to come at you. You have, when you hit the top of the square, and sometimes you have to do it because a lot of numbers are back, but he saw a little gap there and he forced Fogarty to lead at him, and it was a bullet-like kick. And like you said, Jamo, he's got some pretty safe hands when he gets him in front like that, him and Walker. But yeah, he just came on from his injury and he looks okay, Fogarty.
Quickly down to Braden Ingram.
Ross Lyon just broke the phone in the coach's box, slammed it on the desk, and it snapped in half.
That's going to make it a little bit hard. He's going to have to come down to the boundary.
Owens into the ruck for Saints, giving centimetres away, inches I suppose as well.
And he's going to come on your left, Braden, I would have thought. Just give him a little barb on the way through.
Oh, he'll love that, won't he?
Dawson out of the middle gets first possession for Adelaide. Soligo was brilliant. Head passed off to Laird. Down to full forward he goes, trying to get rid of Callum Wilkie. Was Walker, couldn't succeed. Wilkie punches it outside defensive 50. Owens picked it up, tried to push off, and Adelaide got him. Himmelberg, his direct opponent in the ruck contest, was the main tackler, receives the free kick. So Himmelberg, right half forward, into the scoreboard pocket. Rochelle brings it down. Keys takes the tackle as well. And there'll be a ball up, 25 out, just slightly to the right of the goals. Adelaide attacking that northern end in misty rain.
That last inside 50, Taylor Walker did all the work to get to it. Callum Wilkie just recovered and did a tremendous job.
Saints by 4. Walker won it down 2. Wilkie hacked it out of there. Only found Murray. Gives it to Dawson. Back inside 50. Too long for Cook. At the back, Battle, tried to reel it in with one arm. Got it in the end and handed it to Wilkie. Lost his balance as he gathered. Tried the quick kick and has fallen over the boundary line and kicked it out on the full. Free kick to Adelaide. Jake Soligo will be handed it. 25 out. He'll start on the fence.
Well, he's all class, Jake Soligo. You could do this, snap it over his left shoulder.
It's be a tough kick, Jamo. You kicked this, I reckon, Jamo. Back in your day, you would have kicked these.
Drop punt.
Saligo runs in. He's caught it well. It's hit the goalpost on the left-hand side. Ooh, he was eyeing something special. Minor score. Saints by 3 now.
Good.
4-5-29 to 4-2-26. 15 minutes to the second term. Saturday night footy on ABC Sport. Aaron Bryans, Neil Cross, Rod Jamieson, Dean Brogan with you.
Sinclair runs and then delivers to the eastern side of the ground off the pack. Away to Taylor came from Laird, and then Taylor's little kick was good. Hit the man leading up in Fogarty, and Fogarty took the mark right on 50 at right half forward and immediately said, I'm going to have a shot.
Well, he had players on too. If he got back a little bit quicker, he had Keys all by himself, but like you said, Cross, he pointed to the goals, so...
Backs himself.
Well, if it's like his 4-iron, he won't have a problem.
So from 60 out, Fogarty comes in, hits it well, away to the right, coming back, not far enough. Minor score for the Crows. Narrows the margin to 2 points. And we've gone through 16 minutes of the second term at the Adelaide Oval. Saints quick to bring the ball in to Mason Wood.
Heads up the broadcast wing. His target was Phillippo. Through his hands and at the back. Quick gather from Butler, but he gave it away to Dowling. Looks inside to Nankervis under a bit of pressure. The Saints swarming and they've given it back away. Disposal hard in the wet right now. Saligo rips it out of there. Got it to Laird. Around the body. Awkward bounce for Schoenmaker. Wilkie was waiting as the goalkeeper though. Got some space on Walker. Dangerous kick across defensive 50. Nudged underneath at Wilson. At the back, Fogarty trying to gather as the rain gets a little heavier. Puts his head over it. Handball out. Cut off by Wanganeen Miller. Oh, he's wrapped up by Dawson. Well without the footy. Almost a smart free kick there from the skipper to just slow things down because the Saints were out. Left half back.
Wanganeen Miller at 2. The early start of the year, he was just absolutely on fire at half back. You're right. It was a professional free, I think, that one from the skipper.
Career best season for the Glenelg product. He's averaging 26 touches. One of 4 South Australians out there tonight for the Saints as he uses Jones, and now close to the boundary line. Here's Schoenmaker once again.
Choosing the football way better at the moment, the Saints, just by hand and both by foot. Going at 72% again. Adelaide only 57%.
Schoenmaker with a 55-metre drop punt. At half forward, Higgins picks it off the pack, gave the hand pass out. Marshall sticks it inside forward 50. Into the pocket, running through. No, Henry couldn't get it. Murray took it away from him, gave a hand pass off. Keane on the ground now. The umpire comes in and says we'll ball it up. So it's in the left forward pocket for the Saints, heading to the River Torrens end of the ground. Umpire puts it straight in the air. Off hands and kicked into the pocket there by Clark. And still they fight away. Finally, it's come away for Smith, who clears the area as best he can. And the umpire said, I know you only had a metre to work with, but that's insufficient intent to keep the ball in.
Saints players could have tried to keep it in. They just put their hands up straight away. There was 3 of them there and they let it go out.
Wilson runs around from 50 and pops it up to the top of the goal square. Off hands, Burns in the impossible angle. Did his best to try and make it work. He was charging into the pocket on the paint in front of the Riverbank stand and hooked it square as it's thrust through for a minor score. The rush behind makes it a 3-point lead once again for the Saints as we close in on time on here at the Adelaide Oval in the second term. At the G, the Demons lead the Bombers by 14. Same time there. Saturday night footy on ABC Sport.
Adelaide have equalised a lot of the stats in this second quarter, 10-6 inside 50s in favour of Adelaide.
Useless stats coming up. 4 rush behind so far for the Saints. I wonder what the record is because they're on course. Just getting the ball forward again and again without success. Taylor's got the ball for Adelaide on centre wing, eastern side. Drops it in long. Wilkie stands up, thought he had the mark. No, ball came away. Howard just forced a hand pass away. Picked up in the end by Clark. Gave it to Wanganeen Miller. Then to Marshall. Clark follows on. Receives a hand pass in the middle of the ground. Down to half forward. Looks for Higgins. Ball knocked away from him. Henry came. He couldn't get it either. Well done by Bond. Got back on the ball for Adelaide. Looks for Saligo. Did well on centre wing. Got control with a blind turn. And then into the middle. Oh, Laird waited and he shouldn't have. Ball knocked forward for the Saints.
Smashed up to half forward. Wood to Henry. Off a step, did well. Excellent vision. Saw Wilson floating forward and just popped it up into the space. Uncontested mark. 35 out. Slight angle to the left.
Just outstanding football there by the Saints. Courageous too. Just had a couple of the Adelaide defenders. They worked to win it back. Saligo in the contest, and you called it just Laird, just waiting for the footy to come, and Sharman just got a hand to it, and then back inside 50 for the Saints.
11-9 for the year, Darcy Wilson. The 18-year-old looks like a future superstar. He crosses the paint of 50. Wilson leans on the kick and it hits the left hand behind post. Minor score in the end. St Kilda up by 4. 4-7-31 to the Crows. 4-3-27. 21 minutes into the second term. Saturday night footy on ABC Sport as Keane bombs it long to the broadcast wing.
O'Brien comes over the top of the mark. Immediately the hand pass to Dowling on the back foot as he goes around the corner down to half forward. It's sat up. Was there a free kick? Yes. Keys will take it. There was holding. Had the hand pass option to Dowling. Chooses now to run on and play on, and off the left foot goes into the pocket. Saints have a lot of numbers there. And in the end it was the ruckman Marshall who came over the top and belted it over the line. 25 around from the goal face in the left forward pocket for the Crows.
It's continuing to build a lot of the football at the moment, the Saints too. 32-14 marks, so once again still in control. Football's going inside 50 for Adelaide, but just in all the wrong ways.
Tossed in O'Brien there first, paddled it towards Webster, bounced off him, Dowling head over the footy, shoveled it towards Laird, then Dawson combining with Michael Lanny. Fumble by Nankervis, left half forward, sliding in. Henry becomes the tackler and it shoots out. Kabara Soap over the boundary line.
Look where all the players are just at the minute. There's really only Smith, Keane, Nick Murray behind centre half forward for Adelaide. Now a couple of the Saints are just working their way back. Very congested.
They're entrenched in the half forward flank. Throw a blanket over them. No one on the outer side or defensive half. Toss back in. Dowling sends it inside 50. Fogarty crunches the pack as it collapses under his weight. Himmelberg fell into the footy and Howard on top of him. Will get a ball up. 35 out straight in front for the Crows, down by 4.
You think St Kilda will try and shut the rest of the quarter down and take this lead in at half time. They've been pretty good again this quarter.
Well, they won't be able to shut it down because it goes forward. And they weren't able to stop Keys. He knocked it in front of himself and from the middle of the goal square put the left foot through it for the goal.
Well, if you think Ross Lyon broke the phone last time Adelaide kicked the goal, he'd be looking for another phone to break because that was inexcusable from the Saints defender then. Keys just got goal side, and as Keys does, there's no protection on the back of the stoppage. And Keys has been, this is how he kicks his goals. He scraps, he fights, he works hard, he runs through the congestion. He loves the contest, and he's been sensational the last couple of weeks, and he hits the scoreboard again tonight. Again from a little soccer from a goal square. He seems to get a couple of them every week, doesn't he?
Adelaide regains the lead. 5-3-33, St Kilda 4-7-31, closing in on halftime.
But even that last boundary throw-in too, Billy Dowling was this side on the attacking side all on his own. He was the player that then took the kick to put it up to the top of the square.
Crows by 2 and up for the first time since the 17-minute mark of the opening term. Out of the middle, bounced off a couple of toes, rolls towards Berry, pushed straight into heavy contact with Butler by Steele, and the ball just bounces back up and gathers the footy, races away, putting on the Jets. 3 to beat, into the 50. Fogarty is wrapped up by Howard, trickles to the back. Keys can soccer and hit the post. Oh, there was plenty there. Berry amazing in heavy contact. Fogarty had nowhere to go, and it should have been a free against Howard, you would have thought. And then Ben Keys nearly topping it off with the cherry. In the end, it's Adelaide by 3 points as we close in on half-time.
Wanganeen Miller went short, and then Schoenmaker hit the ball outside 50. Murphy puts it back in for Adelaide. To ground went Fogarty, and Howard able to stand up and take the mark, signalling he wants to go out to the eastern side, but he'll come back towards this broadcast side to Wanganeen Millera.
There's no easy feat.
Yeah, you don't see that too often, do you? Well done by Dougal Howard. One-on-one against Fogarty and threw him to the ground, basically.
We saw Schoenmaker's kick. That was a bullet-like and dangerous one, really inside. They say on the 45, but that went about 40 metres, which allowed Adelaide to clean up and put it deep into their 50 again.
Thoughts of Premiership player Rod Jamieson. Dean Brogan alongside him for Saturday night footy on ABC Sport. Crows by 3. Tossed in. O'Brien from behind won it down looking for Dowling. Beaten to it by Clark. Looked to brush off the tackler and dropped it. No whistle. Keys rips it away. Awkward handball forward to Rochelle, who slides in with Wanganeen Millera waiting to pounce behind him, and in the end it's knocked over the boundary line.
Must be seriously cold out there. You can just see the players around there, they're breathing, and there's just all these puffs of smoke coming out.
Demons by 13 at the MCG. Toss back in. Neither ruck read the ball drop and almost falconed Marshall. Spills out. Looking to pick it up, Bond. Gathered in the end by Nankervis. His kick smothered by Clark. He keeps going. Got a handball out. Looking for Bond, but he wasn't there anymore. Higgins gathers. Tried to get it to Membry. Looking to barge his way through, but Laird wasn't having any of it. And the tackle over the line once again. The text line, if you want to get in touch, 0437 774 774.
It's just surface rain too, so it is raining, but it's not hard enough where it soaks in. It just sits on top of the ground, which makes it super slippery for the players.
Off the ruck contest, Henry picked it up, his kick smothered. Berry gave the hand pass out to Saligo, quickly to Michael Annie, back to Saligo, working in a phone box then on the boundary line, down to Himmelberg. Oh, he's taken down from behind. Umpire said no. Keys with a brilliant block on the Wanganeen Millera kick. It came out. Adelaide's got it again. Taylor slipped a hand pass, and now taken to ground was Nankervis, just on the 50. Umpire calls for it, says let's put it in the air again.
That is a mark almost all day, every day as Saligo goes forward, Crossy.
Marshall tapped it straight down to him. Saligo into the 50. Fogarty trying to back into the drop. Knocked away by Howard, and it rolls over the boundary line in front of the scoreboard.
But Dougal Howard's actually ripped him down with his right hand over his neck, so it was either a mark or a free, and Adelaide missed out.
Few touchy calls, contentious across the night against the home side. I know the history would upset the crowd very quickly. Crows by 3 though. They'll take it heading into half-time. Can they hold on to it though? Came out towards Sinclair off the boundary throw in. Saligo fighting to keep it in. Sinclair just wanted to get it out. Play continues. Tunnel ball picked up at the back by Keys. Ripped away from him by Clark. The Saints looking to get out of the 50. Himmelberg gathers. He's caught in the tackle, holding the ball. Again, very little time.
Played on.
Butler's wrapped him up. Saints tried to take the advantage and they've given it away. Nankervis back inside 50 and sliding in. A mark is taken by Taylor and he's had his ankle stood on by Wilson in the process. He'll pop up hobbled, but the young man in his 3rd game will eye off his first ever goal.
That was a great kick by Nankervis. He's been a great player for Adelaide this year, Nankervis. Great find. Rising Star Award the other week. Great little lower eyes. As I said before, I love players that lower their eyes when they go inside 50 and set his teammate up.
Zach Taylor, pick 44 in 2021, has been the sub the last fortnight. Getting his chance in the big time. Loads up from 45. It starts right, never comes back. Minor score. Adelaide by 4. 5-5-35 to 4-7-31. 29 minutes into the second term. Saturday night footy on ABC Sport.
Well, 3-4 Adelaide in this quarter. Missed some chances.
So Sinclair to Wanganeen Millera in the pocket, and then he drops it to Dougal Howard, still inside defensive 50. And that was the first half. And Adelaide coming late in time on to take the lead. And at half-time it reads Adelaide 5-5-35, St Kilda 4-7-31. The Saints have made it hard to play open football. I'm blaming the Saints. I'm just saying that's their way of playing. In the first half, there have been lots and lots of contested passages of play, and the Saints have fallen behind just on the break at 4 points.
The perfect storm of forgettable footy, Crossy, I think. The wet weather, the defensive nature of the visitors, and I guess, the young stoppage players around this contest. But the Crows fans won't mind if they can hold on to this lead. They're up by 4. All individual goal scorers at the major break. Keys, Murphy, Fogarty, Himmelberg and Scholl. Meanwhile, for the Saints, doubles to Wood and Sharman. So 5-5-35 leads 4-7-31. Aaron Bryans and Neil Cross calling the action. Your experts, premiership players Rod Jamieson and Dean Brogan over at the MCG. Halftime there as well. And the Demons are starting to push away from the Bombers, up by 13 now, 6-6-42 to 4-5-29. A big game considering what happened earlier today, in which the Western Bulldogs beat Carlton by 14 points. So if Essendon can get over the line, trailing at the moment, they would find themselves in the top 4 and a chance alongside Port Adelaide to possibly knock Carlton out by the end of the round. So still plenty to play, but at the moment Melbourne do lead that contest by 13 points. Jamo, Brogues, tough one to dissect. It's been pretty ugly footy, but how have the Crows got back into this?
Well, it starts with contest. And I got no doubt that's what Matty Nix did at quarter time. He got them together and said, we haven't showed up from a contest perspective. They were getting hammered in some areas, which are red alerts. All through the coaches would have a statistics board, and it would have all been red. And that it's a work rate thing. And whatever he said to him, and then you saw Dawson grab him again at the start of the quarter. No doubt it was spoken about that. And Adelaide that quarter, 1 contested possession, they 1 clearance, they 1 tackle, they run ground ball gets, and they were 18-8 inside 50. So that's footy hasn't changed in 30 ever since it started. You win the contest, you give yourself every chance to keep yourself in the game. And yep, it's not a pretty game, it's a contested game. Adelaide got it right that quarter and looked really good.
Well, I think I don't know if it's St Kilda's defence or it's just Adelaide's poor ability when they go forward. But they've gone inside 28 times and Adelaide have only had 10 shots. So their percentage there, the other way, Saints 22 inside and they've had 12 shots. So when the Saints have gone forward, it seems to be quicker and it looks to be more open. And at times the defence has been caught out, Adelaide, and they haven't been able to get it out. Whereas the other way, Adelaide just keep going in the same way. And we spoke about it, just dropping it on the head of Fogarty and on Walker's head. And they just, Howard, and we know Wilkie does come over the top and they just kill the footy straight away. And then they've got the run and rebound out of their back half. But certainly you're right, Brogues. I think certainly that second quarter was all Adelaide. So that would be 1 tick. We've sort of got to where we need to be. We've just got our noses in front by 4 points. Now we've just got to start again and grind it away. But they have to sit back and just review that first half really clearly at half time and just say, okay, we're winning it, but we've got to lace out that short kick. It's got to go low and it's got to go hard. We saw the lower kick, but I think outside of that, when you have a look at, was it Berry in that quarter, he was just monstering it at that particular time. Jordan Dawson was a little bit better. Braden Cook was an option. I thought Rory Laird really got into that the game in that second quarter. And again, you look at the young players in Hugh Bond and Billy Dowling, they're actually holding their own at the moment too. But there's a couple of things on the Saints side, like Jack Higgins in that quarter didn't even touch the football. Dangerous up forward. Butler only had the 1. Webster in defence only had the 1 disposal. Memory the 1 disposal in that second quarter. So they were able to negate the key playmakers of the Saints and not have as much influence, and particularly as we look at Mateus Filippo, he only had the 4 in that quarter too. So they're doing jobs, but you'd have to say that it's reasonably even with Adelaide just their noses in front.
Yeah, and look, St Kilda make you play an ugly way. Like we're not sure sitting up here, is it Adelaide's entries? They're sitting on the ball on top of their forwards' heads, or are they? The pressure's really good, so they're forcing the kicks to be less efficient, but it's an opportunist night where the ball's going to be on the ground. So whether Adelaide separate their tools a little bit more so their entries are a little bit better, or whether they bring some people up the ground so you leave your forward line really open and you maybe get your defender to turn inside out and you run back towards goal. But this is the night where you miss the Rankins of the world. How he gets up and gets back and turns his defender inside out. But it'll be interesting to see what they do with Tilthorpe, because it's not a night for tools. You would think that they have to sub a tall out and not play 4 tools, because they look a bit tall down there, Adelaide. Look a bit cumbersome at the moment, just with the tools tonight, when they've got another one sitting on the bench. So I think they need to be a little bit more dynamic in their forward line, because if you look at the rain set in. It's a cold night. The ball's on the deck a lot. Just looks like they're just hitting the forwards on top of their heads too much. So with their kicks. So be interesting to see what they do differently. But they were really good that quarter. Again, the contest. You win your contest, you're a chance to win the game, and you put your best foot forward to win the game, and that's what they got right that quarter, and they were really impressive.
On the text line, speaking of Riley Thilthorpe, one of our listeners isn't happy about the decision to make him the sub, says, I can't see how Matthew Nicks has come to that call. And we debated this a little bit earlier in the day on SA Grandstand, Brogues, that he was in good form in the Sandford, but he's missed such a long period of footy that it was just easing him in. Matthew Nicks did mention it in the presser this week that they expectations weren't high and the fans needed to be a little bit cautious about what they were expecting from him tonight.
Yeah, look, it's always an interesting one when you've got a 22-year-old who's 6'7" and come off a pretty significant injury. How you bring him back? Do you put him in the SANFL for a month, or do you ease him? Do you start him tonight and then you bring him off, or do you make him sub? Or do you let him play the full game? So obviously, they thought the best thing to do for this young man was to make him sub tonight, and I don't disagree with it. I don't like it, but I understand what they're trying to do. I thought there was a case to probably start him and then bring him off with a more versatile dynamic, like a more of a midfielder type of player. And that means maybe Himmelberg misses. But because the night is not built for tall people, so to have a flexibility to throw a wingman or a halfback or a midfielder on in these conditions, probably they don't have that tonight compared to St Kilda subs. So, but they can't make finals, so they've probably got one eye on the future tonight as well with Riley Thilthorpe. So I don't mind the decision.
Maybe plan B is either Taylor Walker, who struggled in recent time with his back, and or the Elliot Himmelberg. So you've got one of those two that might not run out the game, and he goes and fills that role.
Himmelberg's still the backup ruckman at this stage, though.
Yeah, and so I think that's what they'd probably be, because you'd want him to do that. They wouldn't want Thilthorpe in the ruck at the moment. So I think it's probably a Walker one, and then you just play around with the magnets after that, whether he does come up high and run around the ground.
And what happens if plan A doesn't work and they cop an injury to a Saligo or a Rochelle or somebody like that?
Well, that happened a couple of weeks ago, didn't it? They actually pulled the sub. I'm trying to think what game it was, and then they got an injury. So
it's always a contentious one when your sub is the tall key pillar. And some teams have done
it with the tall ones, Brogues? What's with it with the tall blokes?
Well,
the one I can think of the last few weeks was Brandon Zerk-Thatcher, I think, for Port Adelaide about a month ago.
Is it the one where...
That was an interesting one.
Yeah, and look, some clubs like to do it, but I don't know why you would, because you want a player that can play 3 or 4 positions. Because unless it's tactical, or either way, injury or tactical, you want someone with flexibility. So, but these clearly Adelaide are playing for the future, and that was the whole decision for obviously how they're going to get Riley Thilthorpe back into the game. So, but you're right, like Himmelberg does the backup ruck, so he probably stays. He probably stays on, and it's probably a Walker.
Yeah. Ryan Marshall, 8 disposals, had 26 hit-outs, and have a look at Riley O'Brien. He's 9 with 23, but just having a look at the other two advantage, 7-3 in favour of the Saints. Clearances, Berry with the 4. Then it goes Clark, Bonner, Steele, Philippou. So again, around the football, Adelaide work their way back into it. First possession, Hunter, Clark, Mateus, Philippou, and then Riley O'Brien doing his own work, and then Jack Steele down to Rory Laird, who got into it. So, Ryan Marshall,
he's a super player. He missed 2 sitters as well. Like, he should have 2 goals. He's a really, really good player.
Quick one from Danny then on the text line, who says, a high team taking the 4 tight games the Saint lost into consideration. I reckon they actually lost 6 by 10 or under so far this season. Danny says... if
6, yes, you're right.
If under different circumstances and they were in a position to be playing finals, what do you think of their current form? I feel they have definitely turned a corner in the last 4 weeks, but how do they actually compare to the rest of the competition? That's from Danny on 0437 774 774. And yeah, I mean, they knocked off the Swans last week, which is always a good sign of where you sit.
I expected more from St Kilda this year. I know they've lost a lot of close games. I don't know if their brand is going to win you lots of footy games in this modern game of football, where it's quick, it's turnover, it's a bit chaos sort of football seems to be the go at the moment. I'm not sure St Kilda have that, but what they are, they're a very good contest team and bring lots of numbers around, and you're in for a bit of a fight. against St Kilda. So that's a big tick, and that does win you some footy games. But I just don't think they score enough. And Max King hasn't come on because their forward line hasn't really come on. Max King's meant to be a super player by now. I know he's had a lot of injuries, but I feel the way they move the footy and the way they expect their forwards to get up the ground and defend, I think it takes away from genuine forwards. And I don't think they're going to need to. I don't think they can win big with their brand. So I think Ross Lyon needs to. I mean, tell him Ross Lyon he needs to change his game plan, but they have to adapt. They have to get with the modern game. And I don't think that they've got that. And their midfield is pretty slow. They don't have a lot of dynamic players through their midfield, and that is definitely the modern game now. Is having dynamic midfielders. So, look, they're not far away because they've beat Sydney last week and they have lost a lot of close games. But I just don't think if they're making the 8, I don't think they're going to do anything. So.
I don't know. I don't necessarily agree with all of that. I think they've got the quality. They're only 2 games really out of the 8. And I think if they've got Max going okay, yep. Brad Hill with the speed, you got Caminiti who could also be up there. Winhager provides. And I think what they're looking from Zach Jones is that burst, like an Isaac Rankin for Adelaide is, and he can do that. But I think the last couple of years he's probably lost. He hasn't got it, or he hasn't had the impact on the game that he maybe once did. Maybe, I think when he was at Sydney there for a while. So I think they've got the game plan and they've got quality. You can certainly see that. I think it is a super high energy game that Ross asks of you, and I still feel in all of my time of viewing the game, not playing it, Ross is genuinely the only coach that can turn a team within its first year. I know it just gets him to do it. He's just ruthless with it, and they're so disciplined around it. So I think the game plan's there. And they've lost 6. Haven't they? Really close games.
6 by under 12 points. Their record in those games is 3 wins and 6 losses by 12 or under.
Wins 3 of those. He's sitting 3rd.
Yeah.
Thoughts of Rod Jamieson, Dean Brogan, your experts tonight. Hope that answers your question, Danny. 0437 774 774 to text in. The Crows by 4 points at halftime, 5-5-35 to 4-7-31. The second half coming your way on ABC Sport in a moment's time. But for now, let's get the latest from the ABC newsroom.
ABC News with Sally Ann Young. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has called on Russia to stop interfering in the domestic affairs of other nations. 40-year-old Kira Kololev and her 62-year-old husband Igor were arrested in Brisbane on Friday and charged with preparing an act of espionage. Russia's embassy in Canberra has accused the Australian government of trying to stoke anti-Russian sentiment. But Mr Albanese says Russia has lost all credibility.
How about you try to stop interfering in domestic affairs of other sovereign nations? This is a country that has no respect for international law, and they should be regarded with contempt, which is what I have for them.
Prime Minister Anthony Albanese says any corrupt behaviour within the construction, forestry and maritime union should be stamped out. Mr Albanese's comments come amid allegations published in 9 newspapers today that criminals and bikies acting as CFMEU delegates have been employed on state and federal government-funded projects.
Trade unions exist to look after workers and to look after their wages and conditions and health and safety. They don't exist to engage in the sort of conduct that has clearly been engaged with. It should be condemned, it should be isolated, should be stamped out.
The CFMEU says it will not be commenting on the claims until next week. A Victorian government spokesperson says the allegations need to be investigated. Firefighters have contained a blaze in southern Sydney's storage unit after it burnt out of control for more than 12 hours. There are no reports of injuries, but owners remain uncertain of the damage to their goods. A spokesperson for Fire and Rescue New South Wales says they haven't been able to go inside and assess the cause of the fire.
It's too unsafe to send firefighters inside because of the pending wall collapse. So we actually have a remote pilot aircraft system that is allowed to fly inside a building, and that will be used to give us an assessment of the damage inside the building, and it will assist with the engineers in determining whether it's safe to enter.
Overseas, US President Joe Biden has hit out at his critics at a campaign rally in Michigan amid growing calls for him to step aside. The Democrat has faced intense scrutiny after a series of high-profile gaffes in recent weeks. But in a fiery rally, President Biden has told supporters that he isn't backing down and can beat Donald Trump in November's election.
Donald Trump has gotten a free pass. He hadn't done a damn thing till a couple of days ago. He'd been riding around his golf cart in his course, filling out his scorecard before he picks up his club.
US actor Alec Baldwin broke down in tears as a judge dismissed the involuntary manslaughter case against him for the fatal shooting of cinematographer Helena Hutchins on the set of the film Rust. The BBC's David Willis has the details.
Alec Baldwin is highly unlikely to see the inside of a criminal court again over this shooting. He could still face civil suits, but this is something, of course, that's been hanging over him for nearly 3 years, and his reaction was immediate. He cupped his face in his hands, he wept before being embraced by his lawyers and then his wife, and he was facing, of course, the possibility of 18 months in jail if he'd been found guilty. And his lawyers, though, had long based their case on discrediting the police investigation.
Billionaire Elon Musk claims Brussels is censoring free speech after the European Union accused his social media firm X of breaching online content rules. X potentially faces large fines after regulators says its blue tick system for users is deceptive and in breach of its landmark social media rules. The EU Commission spokesperson Thomas Renier says X is potentially deceiving users into thinking accounts with the tick next to their name are verified, when in fact anyone can pay for the symbol.
The blue check marks or account verification on X must not influence or manipulate users. Authenticity must therefore be verifiable and comply with regulations on digital services. Based on our preliminary analysis, this does not appear to be the case.
And the renowned radio presenter Ron E. Sparks has died at the age of 72. He began working in the radio in 1970s for 2SM. His career then led him to Triple M, Today FM and later to WSFM. He also appeared on TV programs, guest hosting Countdown and providing the voiceover for game show Wheel of Fortune. ABC News.
It's the most magical time of the year, right? Footy season! This season you can get your footy live and ad-free on the ABC Listen app.
Unbelievable!
AFL, NRL, men's, women's. Whatever you fix, we've got you covered.
He does, he bounces it through!
Every goal, try, mark and tackle, called by ABC Sports expert commentary team.
A wonderful goal! Game, set, bingo!
100% pure footy, live and ad-free on the ABC Listen app.
This is ABC Sports coverage of the 2024 AFL Premiership season.
AFL. On your radio.
On digital. And take us with you on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
We're all set for the second half here at the Adelaide Oval. The Crows by 4 over the Saints in a low-scoring slugfest in the wet. Hasn't been pretty between these two sides battling to escape the bottom 4. Over at the MCG, Melbourne lead Essendon by 13 points. They've just got started in the third term as well, and you can hear it on the ABC Listen app through the AFL button. Aaron Bryans and Neil Cross calling the action for you. Your experts, premiership players, Rod Jamieson and Dean Brogan. Plenty happening across the codes. For our Adelaide listeners, the Thunderbirds play tomorrow in the Super Netball, but the Vixens and the Fever have both had wins, so Adelaide will need to beat the Lightning tomorrow to lock away top spot. Wimbledon's on tonight, the women's singles final between Barbara Krejcikova and Jasmine Paolini, both looking for their first Grand Slam victory. You can hear that on the ABC Listen app through the tennis button from 10 Eastern Standard Time, and on Monday morning from 4:32 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, ABC Sport will broadcast the Euros final between England and Spain. A big thanks to our friends at the BBC for arranging that, so you can hear it on the Listen app and ABC Sport digital from 4:32 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Crows by 4. We're back underway here at the Adelaide Oval, and the rain is getting heavier. Ball drops between the two rucks, and O'Brien wraps up Marshall. Spills out towards the broadcast wing. Diving handball from Saligo, trying to get it to Cook. It's bouncing around like a pinball. Picked up by Webster, who just paddled it to Wood. He hacked it out of there with a half volley, straight to the boundary line and deliberate.
Can't pay that. It's in the wet. He's just trying to gain territory. They're red hot on this out of bounds deliberate, aren't they?
Indeed, it's the only thing that's hot tonight. As Butts goes down the line with his kick. It's near the boundary line again. Laird crushed by a couple of Saints. Sinclair and the other one there was Clark. Umpire balls it up. Laid down to Laird again. He just socketed it mid-air. It went straight over the line. What does the umpire say? Insufficient intent. One apiece. One apiece. We'll get down to Braden Ingram in a moment. He's the one who knows how wet it is. And I hate to tell you, but it's getting wetter. As Webster drops it in short, that was barely 15. Sinclair took it half back for the Saints on this broadcast side of the ground. Drives it down towards centre wing. Big thump away by Murray. The head pass out towards Laird over the boundary line. Braden Ingram. How wet are you on a scale of 1 to 10?
Yeah, it's bucketing. It's getting towards an 8. Might need an arc relatively soon, but you wonder how Riley Philthorpe's feeling as a key forward, as a sub, possibly being subbed on in these conditions. Is going to be a tough one.
He'll end up running in his pyjamas. Pair of moccasins.
Crows by 4. The punters headstrong. They're not going anywhere in the wet. O'Brien double tapped down looking for Dawson. Bounced off his shin to Henry. And then back to Saligo. Around the body towards the 50. Trying to cut it off is Wilkie. Juggled and couldn't control it. Walker sockers straight towards Schoenmaker. He fell over the footy. Tex goes again. Roller towards the goal, and it hits the right-hand goalpost. Minus score for Adelaide, up by 5. They're kicking to the Riverbank stand end in this third term, the right-hand side of your radio dial. And the Saints don't waste any time as Wanganeen Miller goes long.
Contest out there on the eastern side. Offhand, Steele picks it up for the Saints, and then he's taken late as he kicks it towards Membry. So Membry was out pointed by Butts, but will get the free kick, or the relay free kick. He goes with his right foot down the line. It was Murray at the back, just knocked it forward. Now he's got a chance to pick it up, immediately tackled, and it'll be a free kick for a high tackle in that scoreboard pocket. This rain, combined with the cold and a little bit of mist across the ground, making it hard to see those players over on the far side of the ground. Murray now takes his kick, drives it out towards centre wing on the eastern side, off hands. Paddled out by Wilkie to Sinclair for the Saints. Sinclair's kick smothered off the boot. Bet you that hurt the hands. As Dawson does a smother, it's over the boundary line on the eastern side.
Testament to those supporters on the northern end of Adelaide Oval. They're out in the open.
I don't know how they
do it. Doesn't even look like too many have moved, but
they love
cold and wet.
Good on them.
Crows by 5.
I'm not swapping with you.
Still got the puffer on, Jammer. Toss back in.
I've gone an extra layer.
High up and under. O'Brien paddles it over his head. Charging by was Michael Lanny. Ran into a brick wall and Clark too high. Free kick to the young gun. Picks off Laird. Close to the boundary line out of sight in front of the Odie stand. 5-point lead to the home side. Tough conditions out there. Laird down the line. Only finds Burns. Straight to him in the end. He's really relishing the wing roll of the past couple of weeks, forcing Mason Wood forward. Burns through the logo, looking for Sharman. One-on-one with Keane. Got a fist in the Crow. Rolls down towards Wanganeen Miller. Couldn't control it, neither could Philippou. Towed out of there by Dawson beautifully in the traffic. Straight to Fogarty. Now little 1-2. Murphy and Saligo in the centre square. Out to the broadcast wing he goes. Under pressure and off balance. He tries to hook it towards the 50. Awkward bounce. Rolls towards the line. Not sure why Wilkie thought he'd get a deliberate call there. It was no chance. Boundary throw in.
Thought they handballed a bit too many. One too many handballs, Adelaide. That was one they just needed to get inside 50 because they had genuine one-on-ones inside 50 on a wet night. It's one handball kick, a couple of handballs on a chain. It's not the right thing to do on a wet night.
Ball comes in, and it was Keys who got the bouncing ball, and he slipped a hand pass to Saligo, running straight at goal off the inside of his boot and out of bounds. Wasn't even on the full. He just barely kicked it in the end. And in the left forward pocket, we'll get a throw in.
It's just, he's all class, isn't he, too? But conditions just really difficult for both sides.
So it'll be Marshall and O'Brien. The first choice ruckman go at it. O'Brien comes to the front, taps it down. Can Keys get there? No. Ball through for the minus score. Another rush behind. And the Crows stretch their lead to an even goal. 6 points the margin. 5 minutes into the third quarter at the Adelaide Oval.
Wangan Miller again plays on to the right back pocket. This time opts for the short approach as he chips it to Schoenmaker. Had the hot start, Ari, and wasn't really seen through the second quarter. In his fourth game down the line he goes. Up to the outer wing, Marshall presents. Got a hand up, bounced off it, down towards Michael Lanny, quickly tackled, ball up. Crows by 6 on the text line. JD's not happy, says the 4 worst players for the Saints are Owens, Butler, Higgins and Membry. All of our forwards will kick 10 goals a game this week. They've done it 9 times this season, the Saints, under 10 goals. Out of the stoppage, it rolls through centre wing up towards the attacking 50 for the Saints and picked off by Smith, who walks it over the line.
Well, it's just a brutal game plan, isn't it? We're just sitting here watching it from the distance. Like, the forwards have to work so high and so hard deep into the forward of the opposition, and then you've just got to get back, and it's just so hard. You get the wind and footy across the middle, and you've actually got no one to kick it to.
Ball over the back for Michael Lanny off the ruck contest. Left foot down towards centre wing. Fogarty battling hard. Wanganeen Miller took it off him. Over his shoulder, down the line. O'Brien couldn't take it, nor Marshall kick it. And then it's picked up by Clark. Turns around, touched off the boot. Down towards half forward. Sharman, did he get a hand pass out? The umpire said no. In the tackle, he dropped it. It's going to come back, and it'll be a free kick to Adelaide. Keane, the Irishman, he'd know all about these conditions, you'd think. Can't imagine they played Gaelic football in perfect conditions all the time.
Through the outer side go the Crows. Kick to Scholl. Turns and wants to go immediately. Driving it in the direction of Walker. Bounced off him in the end, trying to take the chest mark against Wilkie. Tough conditions to hold onto the footy right now as it rolls over the boundary line. At the MCG, Melbourne by 12 over the Bombers. Saturday night footy on ABC Sport. Whatever your poison, the ABC Listen app is your home. For all the codes, toss back in. Marshall down looking for Filippo. Ran past the footy and Marshall becomes the tackler on Berry. So the Wimbledon women's final tonight from 10 p.m. on the ABC Listen app.
How good's Novak Djokovic? Eh? Another final.
Considering he had the knee issue weeks out, he's done well to turn it around.
Well, he actually had an operation too, I think, wasn't it?
Wanganeen Miller has the footy at right half back. Long ball searing through the outer side, but very wide. Caught the side of the boot and out on the full. So free kick in front of the Odie stand. Adelaide ball once again. The crowd little silent. It's been an ugly quarter. Understandably so in the wet.
Must be a bunch of Saints fans in the crowd because they're just holding on to the ball. They wouldn't surrender it. They look like they were very much into this crowded, congested game. So Adelaide down the line. Fogarty comes late. It's down at left half forward, off hands and over the boundary line.
We did have a text, Crossy, asking how many St Kilda fans are in attendance, and it's tough to tell at the moment because they're all in their ponchos, but there's a trickle of them at the northern end in the front of the visitors' goal.
Ball comes back into play. O'Brien got around his opponent, knocked it down. Michael Annie couldn't take it. Berry did on the ground, slipped a hand past the Shoal. High kick off the back foot inside 50. Fogarty almost claimed it. It's come out to Saligo. A slick hand pass by Keys. Kick wasn't that slick. It was away to the right. Adelaide advancing by points. 3 of them in the quarter. Stretched the halftime margin from 4 to 7 points in favour of the Crows. 9 minutes into the third quarter. And it's a short pass by Wilkie out of defence.
Gets it back and goes long to the broadcast wing. Sitting up for Membry, coming late. Rising above. Taylor got a hand in. Brilliant effort as well to follow up. Laird came in, diving handball. May have been caught high from Butler, or was it deemed a throw? Free kick going to Zach Jones. At left half back. And on the 45 for the Saints, he looks inbound. Hits up Jimmy Webster. The 31-year-old. Could be his last season for St Kilda. Out of contract at the end of the year, but playing some good footy as he goes down the line. Little wide. Embry tried to reel it in with 3 to beat, and off hands it goes over the boundary line.
Well, Adelaide had 3 pretty gettable shots to start the quarter and could really have stretched out their lead and only got behinds. But they do look a little bit dangerous going forward, and their contest work's been started the quarter well again, following on for their second quarter.
The Saints have had the footy down the line for the last 4 or 5 disposals, but prior to that, Adelaide had doubled them in this quarter.
Premiership players, Rod Jamieson, Dean Brogan there. Adelaide out of the stoppage. Wobbler as it swung up through the broadcast wing. Hit the deck. Himmelberg sliding in. The big man did his best to try and gather. Ripped away by Webster. Gave it off to Jones, who turned, bang, crash into 3 Crows. Dropped the footy. Play continues. Oh, they're getting ever so closer to a riot, these Adelaide fans. The whistle hasn't gone their way. Saligo picks it up now and he's pinged. Jack Higgins got him within milliseconds. Free kick to the Saints defensive edge of the square.
Higgins onto the boot. Down towards just beyond centre wing. Wanganeen Miller took the ball off the pack. Crowd wanted a free kick for that. Philippou decided to bounce. Oh, bad mistake in the wet in any case, and then he was shot down immediately.
He got
by
hammered.
The Crows. Murray coming off his man and thumped him.
Absolutely brilliant. Imagine Murray running at you like that and hitting you.
He's a genuine hip and shoulder. That is still in the game. Well done, both players.
Off the ruck contest, Jones inside 50. It's in the air. Contest, ball comes to ground. Shot out to Butts in the end.
Well done, Butts.
Then he gave it to Scholl with a long hand pass. Scholl puts it in front of Keys running hard. It's a 2-on-1 for the Saints. Sinclair to Webster with a little hand pass. He goes back to half forward. Owens with a huge push in the middle of the pack. Umpire calls play on. Smith picks it up. Nankervis looks, why didn't I get that free kick? Crowd not happy. It's raining. It's really scrappy.
Well done by Butts. Just before he was really clean. Handballed, saved the goal. He's a good defender, Butts.
Crows by 7. Marshall down. Got it out wide. And Butler thought he had more time than he did. Raced around the arc looking for an option, and Michael Annie closed. Caught his prey. Free kick to the Crows, and Michael Annie wants to go quickly up to the Bashir stands. Looking for Berry and spoilt away by Sinclair. So Adelaide by 7. Just the 3 behinds to start this third quarter. We're 12 minutes in. And the Crows have had the last 6 scoring shots either side of half-time, but just the 1 goal for it. Meanwhile at the G, Melbourne's still up by 2 goals. It's wet weather there as well. So wherever you're watching tonight, it's not going to be pretty footy. Tossed in, Laird towed it out of the stoppage straight to the boundary line. And that's a gimme deliberate.
That was deliberate.
Matthew Nichols knew immediately and has pinged him. Free kick to the Saints in front of the Williams stand. Sinclair down the line looking for Owens. Bounced off his chest. Coming through. Burns picked it up, dropped it. No free kick. Scholl gets it away for Adelaide. Dinking it up towards Fogarty. Bounced off by Battle. And kick smothered as Wilkie looked to get around Scholl. Will get a boundary throw in front of the Williams stand. Adelaide by 7. Saturday night footy on ABC Sport.
Lachie Scholl is one Adelaide player that even in these conditions he's been really clean by hand and by foot.
Adelaide by 7 points. Marshall and O'Brien renew acquaintances. Ball comes down and umpire says we'll ball it up again. Saints player just taking the ball. Taylor took him down immediately. It was Burns that time. Ball goes in the air again. Sinclair handed it off to Marshall. His kick back. Keane dropped the ball running back. Now he's got possession. Hand passed it to himself over a Saints player. Gave it to Nankervis. Gets it back. Hacked off the ground by Keane with the left foot. It rolls out of play, and that is insufficient intent as well. Marshall will get the free kick.
That is insane on that occasion. Seriously, he's just kicked out of ground. And that's a goal.
Brought some life to the crowd at least. They're up and about and fuming. Down the line go the Saints. O'Brien looked to cut it off. Spilled out towards Butts and back to Keane. Launches it through the outer side. Spills to the back. Walker with a big tackle. Brought down Schoenmaker. Ricochets towards the boundary line.
I think the umpire actually called that. He has too.
Throw.
Yep.
It's coming back to Taylor Walker. Man on the mark will be standing around 48 out. So Shoemaker, falling forward in the Walker tackle, has just flung it out. And the big Texan in his range, albeit in the wet, wants to pop it up instead, lobbing it towards the goal square. O'Brien back with the flight, fell down towards the ball drop, got a fist in late, and rolls out in front of Saligo. Right forward pocket, 25 out. Crows by 7, and they're getting ever so closer to an elusive goal.
I mean, the umpires have to know that in wet conditions like this, you're going to soccer and gain territory as much as you can. And sometimes it's going to look like it's going to go out of bounds and look deliberate. Like, they should have enough footy now to understand that.
Philippou out of the pack onto the left foot, just kicked it out. Kept it on this side of the ground, the broadcast side. Off hands, it's just, well, he's got it again. Out of the pack and just a little right foot kick, another 20 metres or so. Adelaide in there trying to get possession. Berry finally clean. Nankervis showed the ball, got around Wilson. Kicks it high inside 50. Ball over the back. Jones is there and he's got support for the Saints. Quick hand pass to Sinclair, then Battle. They'll get it out the eastern side.
Chisels it to Burns, who marks in front of Scholl. Still just inside the defensive 50. And now they get the exit. Over the top to Sinclair, who marks unopposed. Through centre wing. Target was Higgins. He's caught behind Bond. Shaken, not stirred. Gathered in the tackle, though, as he tried to break away. Too confident, Bond. And he's run down. Free kick to the Saints.
Oh, you encourage that all day, every day. First gamer, take the game on as you did.
Came down to Butler, and he's given it straight back. That is the ugliest kick you will ever see. He's dropped it casually, just caught the boot and straight out. Ross has found a new phone, but he might break the second one.
You break that after a kick like that. What was that kick?
Adelaide by 7. They've got the footy at left half back.
Saligo down the line. And there's Butler again with an interesting hand pass. Got it away. And the Saints through Burns got it, hand passed it straight over the boundary line. He had a player there, but it was straight past him and over the boundary line and off the ball. A little bit of action between Rory Laird and the former Port Adelaide player, Riley Bonner. Anyway, umpire didn't say that was insufficient intent. Ball came back into play. Taylor leads a chase for the ball, slipped it to Laird, then by hand back to Scholl. Round the corner he goes, down the line. Off hands, back towards the logo on centre wing. Butler flips out a hand pass for the Saints. Now there's a tackle. Umpire says, no, Riley Bonner, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. We'll ball it up. Has not been a great quarter. We're 17 minutes in. We've seen 3 behinds scored only, all of them by the Crows, who lead by 7 points.
Marshall down to Burns, trying to get it out of there. Finally, we may inside 50. Sharman around the body. Wormburner to Membry. Didn't read the bounce. Gets a second chance. Gathered, handed it off, and Wood goes to ground. Lost his footing. Cut off by Bond. Excellent intelligence. To right half back, he uses Saligo. Dangerous down the line to Rochelle. Coming across the other way was Webster. Knocked it down to Jones. Inside 50 go the Saints, and Higgins takes a mark. The chaos is over, and we've got a set shot. 40 out, 45-degree angle to the left.
Well, Webster was brilliant and came off his man to intercept that, and you love it when defenders come off their man to impact another contest. And yeah, I mean, that's why he's played as many games as he has. A brilliant player.
Josh Rochelle didn't want to take that contest, though. He stood off. He had to put his body on the line then just to have the contest, but he chose not to.
Higgins had 3 the last time he played Adelaide, but he still is yet to have one tonight. Curling through for a minor score on the left. It's the Crows by 6, 5-8-38 to the Saints, 4-8-32. 19 into the third term. Aaron Bryans, Neil Cross, Dean Brogan, Rod Jamieson with you for Saturday Night Footy on ABC Sport. Straight up the spine goes Brodie Smith.
And only finds Clark, who pulls down the mark. So Clark inside the centre square, backs up almost to the circles, then drops it wide, turns it over. Going back against the flight, taking it over his head was well done by Scholl. That rain teeming down. We'll get down to Braden Ingram in a moment. I think he's floating down there somewhere.
This is as bad as we've had for a while.
So Scholl goes wide with a kick, and just on the boundary line on the eastern side of the ground was Fogarty, off hands over the line. And with the greatest of patience, we go down to Braden Ingram, surfacing down there.
This is the heaviest the rain has been by far, and it looks like it has set in. The ball trapped on that outside for a long time, so players took a while to get to the bench, and they're gassed when they get here.
Crows by 6. Tossed back in and knocked down to Scholl. Around the body he goes, through the outer wing. Charging onto it, Murphy couldn't control it. Rochelle there, knocked away by Jones. They keep fighting the Crows. Murphy to Keys, the fend off. He'll roll it from 45 in the wet, skidding to the behind line. And in the end, the Saints happy to let it roll through for a minor score on the right-hand side. Back up by 7. The Crows 5-9-39 rather to the Saints 4-8-32. We're closing in on time on in this third term.
But no Tilthorpe yet. It's absolutely bucketing down with rain. Looks like they're only going to probably play him for a quarter. Not sure that's beneficial for his game fitness, but the conditions are probably holding off the decision making, I would have thought.
I'd almost play him in the middle. You know, just let him run around. Let someone else take the ruck contest and just get him to run around. He's a big body. He can put himself over, and he is clean in wet as the Saints have kicked backwards here crossing.
Henry looking to kick across the ground, but under pressure puts it back inside defensive 50. Wilson comes, picks it up, slipped a hand pass straight away. Wilkie with a fresh air. Walker slaps it towards goal. It's on the ground. Rochelle just kicked through. He's hurt his leg, and Dougal Howard got the impact of it, and the ball's rolled over the boundary line eventually. Yeah, we'll come back.
Sorry, Crossy. How didn't Dougal Howard get a free kick then?
He's trying to, Dougal Howard slapped it away, and Rochelle kicked at the ball and ended up hitting Dougal Howard's shoulder. And no free kick.
Almost a knee or a broken leg the way.
Dangerous for Rochelle, wasn't it?
So ball out of bounds, 25 around from the goal face. Walker from the ruck contest. It's cleared away, and Clark takes a mark for the Saints. Now he plays on this broadcast side of the ground.
Went down the line looking for Marshall, who receives it anyway for a free kick against Dawson. Swings around, empty 50. It'll sit up at centre half forward, and Scholl's waiting there.
Been good, Scholl. Called him out a few times tonight. And Gemma, you pointed him out before. He looked really clean in the wet.
Career best season in a contract year. They'll swing it back to the broadcast wing, and there's another blocking free going the Saints' way. Get Jamo on the free kick count in a moment. Schoenmaker to Bonner. Back up to half forward. Knocked down to the path of Filippo. There's no one in the 50. So from 55, he'll head all the way home. Filippo mine. What a finish. And it's a 1-point game. 5-9-39 the Crows. The Saints 5-8-38. 22 played in the third. Saturday night footy on ABC Sport. Your experts, premiership players, Rod Jamieson and Dean Brogan.
Well, that's a good a goal in the wet, as you're going to see. What a classy goal. 50 metres out, in the wet, clean take off the ground. Never looked like it was going to miss. He's all class, this kid, isn't he? He's going to be a super player.
It's just the work rate and his ability to get to the contest which brings him into the game. He's just accumulating the football and has done all game, but he's class on the left foot too. So run, comes down, clean in the wet, and outside 50 as you called it. Tremendous.
Premiership players Rod Jamieson and Dean Brogan on ABC Sports. Saints break out of the middle. Filippo again. Filippo from 50 goes long and wide, just wide. Now Curvis wins the contest. Off to Murray, a little too severe with a hand pass. Now the ball on the ground, a battle. Higgins, one of them, in there for the Saints, and forces a ball up just 15 metres out, slightly to the left of the goal face for the Saints.
Free kicks 24-14 in favour of the Saints.
Marshall comes in, put it down the throat of Higgins, but couldn't control it in the wet. Socked away by the Crows, but Burns was waiting at the 50. Squares it up. Again, Higgins the target. Too short in the drop, knocked away by the Talls. Butts bangs it out of there. Looking to escape the 50. Dropped a bit shallow for Walker, misread the drop. Picked up by Bonner for the Saints. Again, Burns on the wing. Flares it inside. Owen's the target this time. Knocked to ground. He keeps fighting. Knocked it back to Wilson. Gave it to Jones, who turned straight to the tackle and gives it away. Adelaide just hack it out of there. The Saints are waiting with a brick wall in the square. Battle to Steele, just wide of the circle, and then back to Battle, just wide of the logo on the outer side.
Plays on forward with the hand pass. Keys with the pressure. Adelaide turn it over in the midfield. It's come to Cook. He looks up, drops it in short, finds Saligo at half forward. Wants to get up quickly, gave a hand pass away. Keys across to Himmelberg from inside 50, keeps it low. It'll roll through. Oh, brilliant half volley. What a finish by Lockie Scholl. He had the option of letting it go, but did not want to risk it and half volleyed it and then put it through from the goal square for his second of the night. Adelaide stretched the lead to 7 points. 6-9-45 the Crows. St Kilda 5-8-38 closing in on three-quarter time. Braden Ingram again surfacing on the boundary. Maybe not.
Maybe we wait for Braden, but that was just the cleanest passage of play from Adelaide, wasn't it? Too, just through the half-back line. They worked their way through it. 45 went to the angle. It was Rory Laird's kick that just, instead of getting it and going forward to the congestion, players were working hard to get back into the 50. He came out to this side, laced out Elliot Himmelberg, had the option and took the better one for the team and found a teammate.
Adelaide by 7 in the middle, still gathered, wrapped up by Dawson. Dropped his weight, back with the tackle, and the skipper dropped it for St Kilda, that is, as the two captains collide. Spilled out towards Wood. Overhead handball. Trying to release a teammate. Cut off by Taylor. Jams it up towards the 50 for Adelaide. Bounces to Cook at right half forward. Sliding in Murphy, looking to receive the handball. Didn't get there. And ricochets off Bonner over the boundary line. 40 out, right forward pocket. Adelaide trying to find a late goal in this third term. They're up by 7.
A little passage of play there too was really good. Zach Taylor and I think it was Saligo with the pressure on the Saints. They wanted to run it out. They put the pressure on, took the footy away.
Tossed in, Marshall down to Laird. Quick kick that rolled 5 metres to Taylor, slid in and no one was there to meet him. So he stands back up. High ball towards the goal square. Fogarty had 4 to beat and it's knocked away from him over the boundary line. Crows by 7. Over at the MCG, Melbourne by 17. Both games getting close to three-quarter time.
Yeah, you're right, Jamo. Adelaide's work rate around the contest with their young players has been really good tonight. They're Taylor and Mocklany and players like that are really having a crack.
And there's one of them, Taylor, with the ball given to him by Rochelle. A little quick hand pass as Rochelle took it off the contest and gave it to Taylor across the body, narrow with the kick. Minus score. Adelaide have added 1-6 in this third quarter. They've stretched their lead to 8 points, closing in on three-quarter time.
Through the outer wing go the Saints. Laying it in, Miller up, driving it in the direction of Membry. Brought to ground and Higgins there to do the crumbing. Hands it off to Henry, brought down, just got a handball away, or did he? Umpire says holding the ball. Nicholas Brown wasn't sold. Free kick to Adelaide, defensive edge of the square. Rory Laird, the man who got him. Leans back on the kick. Back up towards the Bashir stand. Wilson gets a fist in as the pack converges and over the boundary line. JD's got a theory on the text line. Says the Saints play under the roof at Docklands all year. Maybe they're not very good at wet weather footy.
Could be. Well, it's not a bad theory. I don't know what teams would play well in conditions like this, but it's a really hard game to play in when it's raining like this and it's set in. It's tough going out there for these boys.
So the poncho's out, but the Crows and the Saints fight on the ground. So off the ruck contest and then hacked off the ground towards the boundary and over as Dawson tried to drag it in. So it's still at left half forward for the Crows on the eastern side of the ground. 1-5, not 1-6, 1-5 for the quarter to the Crows and 1-1 for the Saints. Ball off the contest. Michael Annie's got the ball behind him. Henry took him and then took the ball away and then fumbled it. And now we go back to the old-fashioned schoolyard dog pile there. As they all tried to clamour onto the ball on the logo on the outer side.
Bit of British Bulldog.
Crows by 8, holding free kick, going against them. How's that count looking, Jamo?
I think it was 25-14 now, but let me double check.
Marshall gets the free kick, sends it inside 50. Sharman rising across, couldn't clunk it. Spilled down and Owens falls into the footy. Tackled by Smith.
Jamo, is it soaking rain yet?
Yep.
45 out, Saints 50 at the moment. O'Brien wins it down for the Crows. Straight to Owens. Breaks away from the stoppage. Around the body. Launches it towards the goal square. Higgins tried to take the chest mark with 2 to beat. Knocked away. He falls into the drop. Wrapped up. It's wrenched out of there by Steele. Caught in the sandwich in the wet. Ball up straight in front. 25 out for the Saints. Down by 8.
25-15 in favour of the Saints.
So the ball goes in the air. O'Brien, I think, had the better of it. Cook picked it up and then dropped it as he lost control. It's still inside the Saints forward line. Cook's got it again and sinks the slipper. It's a torpedo of sorts. Got it all the way 50, 60 metres from goal, and coming across and making sure it went over was Fogarty for Adelaide. It's near the interchange gates now. That's a lot of territory gained out of that kick from Braden Cook, which was basically just a hack.
Got it out of the defence. Jake Saligo this quarter, almost three-quarter time. 11 disposals. Lockie Scholl 10. Wangani Miller with the 8. Also Burns 6.
Toss back in. Marshall paddled it into O'Brien's face, and it's ricocheted perfectly to Saligo. He's kicked towards the 50, an errant one as he finds Wilkie, but that would have been something special. What a play off the Falcon.
Wilkie's had a tremendous year, isn't it? He is
All-Australian fullback last year, yep. So looking to back it up, pun intended. He gave it to Battle, and that'll take us to three-quarter time here at the Adelaide Oval. And despite the hard footy in the wet, we've still got a thrilling finish on our hands. The Crows by 8 points, 6-10-46 to the Saints, 5-8-38. Goal scorers heading into the final term. 2 to Scholl, singles to Himmelberg, Fogarty, Murphy and Keys, whilst for the Saints, doubles to Wood and Sharman. Their only goal of the term, an excellent one from Mateus Filippo. 55 out, empty goal square, went for home and managed to bounce it through. So it's 6-10-46 playing 5-8-38. Crows up at three-quarter time, as are the Demons at the MCG against Essendon, 8-6-54 to 5-7-37 there. The text line, if you want to get in touch, 0437 774 774 earlier today. Hawthorn defeated Freo by 13. The Swans defeated the Roos by 79. The Bulldogs defeated Carlton by 14. And the big breaking news, if you missed it at halftime, ABC Sport will be broadcasting the Euros final Monday morning, 4:32am on ABC Sport Digital and the ABC Listen app. That's Eastern Standard Time, 4:32am. Big thanks to our friends at the BBC. You could hear the final between England and Spain through the ABC Listen app and ABC Sport Digital. Crows by 8 as we close in on the conclusion to a tough night. On ABC Radio, Sport Digital and the ABC Listen app, this is Saturday Night Footy on ABC Sport.
The road to an Olympics or Paralympics is rarely straightforward. It's filled with pain, pressure and expectations.
The gold is always on my mind.
For me to go to the Olympics would be everything.
Being able to bring home the first ever gold for Australia would be a very, very proud moment for me.
ABC Sports documentary Countdown to Paris follows 5 Australian athletes in their quest to make it to Paris 2024.
I knew straight away that qualifying for Paris was what I wanted to do.
The desire to make an Olympics never goes away.
Countdown to Paris is available to watch now on ABC iView and the ABC News In-Depth channel on YouTube.
This is ABC Sports coverage of the 2024 AFL season. Every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Schoenmaker to Bonner. Back up to half forward. Knocked down in the path of Filippo. There's no one in the 50. So from 55, he'll head all the way home. Filippo my. What a finish. And it's a 1-point game.
Drops it in short. Finds Saligo at half forward. Wants to get up quickly, gave a hand pass away. Keys across to Himmelberg from inside 50, keeps it low. It'll roll through. Oh, brilliant half volley. What a finish by Lockie Scholl. He had the option of letting it go, but did not want to risk it and half volleyed it and then put it through from the goal square for his second of the night. Adelaide stretched the lead to 7 points.
the 2024 AFL Premiership season.
On your radio.
ABC Sport Digital.
And on the ABC Listen app.
8-point lead to the Crows heading into the final term. 6-10-46 to 5-8-38. They've led since the 23-minute mark of the second term, but it's been a relatively low-scoring, tight, contested game in the wet. St Kilda were up by 8 at quarter time, the Crows by 4 at the half, and now the 8-point margin separates them 6-10-46 to 5-8-38. Aaron Bryans and Neil Cross calling the action for you for Saturday night footy on ABC Sport. Your experts, premiership players Rod Jamieson and Dean Brogan. Has there been much to like about the performance tonight, gents?
Oh, I like the way Adelaide have gone about it after quarter time since, Matty Nicks gave them a little bit of a talking to. I think they've responded. Their clearance work's been really good since quarter time. Their contested ball's been good. Their ground ball stuff's been really good, which is a work rate indicator. They've look, it's an ugly game. We know that, conditions and whatnot, but I think that young Saligo has stood up in these conditions, which is what you love to see from your midfielder. And Scholl's been sensational. Like he's going at 71% efficiency in these in this weather, so he looks really good. But I think it's an actually tight game, and St Kilda aren't too far away from this either. So I think we're going to see a good last quarter. And just looking, I think Tilthorpe's been subbed in, Jamo.
Yeah, whereabouts as he's gone forward. So I'd say Elliot Himmelberg is probably the player. Well, I guess we'll wait and see. But again, clean hands up forward. But I think Jake Saligo and Lachie Scholl in that quarter, 12 and 10, certainly metres gained. Both of those players are in front, so getting it off the ground, but also having an impact on the scoreboard. For the Saints, Wanganeen Miller off the half-back line. So I think that's the difference there, Wavy, why Adelaide's in front. Two midfielders have got their footy and got it forward and covering the ground. It's Wanganeen Miller off the half-back line, and then you're just relying too on their ruckman in Rowan Marshall, and he's second with metres gained too, and Hunter Clark in the middle of the ground. So big quarter then by Adelaide. Both subs have been activated, so Himmelberg off for Riley Thilthorpe, his first game of 2024, and Riley Bonner is off for Ben Patton for the Saints. So a couple of like-for-like changes.
So didn't Himmelberg play, no, not Himmelberg, Thilthorpe. Was it the Saints he played in Cairns when he kicked the ball over the head in conditions like this, except about 20 degrees warmer?
Yeah.
He's had 5 goals in his last 2 games in the Sandful, so that knee injury in the pre-season, and now we get to see the beast, the man mountain, Riley Thilthorpe, get his first glimpse at senior footy in 2024.
That could be a new nickname, the beast.
On the text line, Dave says, in this kind of weather, the Crows will need to win by putting their head in front and keeping the pressure up, because goals are going to be hard to come by.
They just get your head over the footy, run through the contest, highly likely you get a free.
Your namesake Rod in Melbourne's not happy about us giving the free kick count either.
Why is that?
Thinks it's a bit more biased because we don't give it as often, but I think it's important considering the one-sided home crowd we have that it's been largely against them. Tossed up in the middle, O'Brien diving into the footy, trying to reel it in. Gathered by Laird, he gave it away. Wanganeen Miller hacked it up towards half forward, bounced a little wide of Henry. Membry can gather on the bounce. One arm pinned, still got boot to ball, but only found Cook. Wasn't 15. The chaos continues. Murray now a high one. Up towards Walker, charging up from the forward 50. Into the centre square, couldn't get there in time. Knocked back towards Burns, and the Saints continue the charge. Up to half forward. Higgins came far from home, knocked it towards the boundary line. Jones is on the chase. Crowd want deliberate. They
got it. The crowd are calling these now, aren't they?
So it finally goes their way. They've been asking all night.
Frost lines.
Oh, again, you're talking about the weather conditions.
Well, it just
Jack Higgins is in his forward 50. He tries to kick it off the ground. It comes off the side of his boot and it goes over the line. And the umpire says...
We just saw some footage of both coaches smiling with their hands up in the air. So clearly the umpires have got this wrong tonight.
So... Saints have got possession, they just surrendered it, and Dawson picked it up, so it's between half forward and centre wing for Adelaide. He had no chance to get it out, so it's a ball up. O'Brien knocks it down, Laird couldn't handle it, Jones picks it up for the Saints and just struggles the ball forward. A little toe poke out of the pack towards Steele came from, no, umpire calls it for the ball up. Sharman was the man who got the little toe poke to the ball. On we go. Rain's eased a bit though.
Matthew Nichols puts it into the air, close to the benches. Tap down towards Laird, who just soccers it out of there. Says, stuff it, let's get some territory. Up to half forward. Thilthorpe trying for his first touch. It's a smother in the end on Battle. Keeps fighting, spins the handball to Laird. Beautiful stuff. Back to Berry, into the 50. Fogarty came late with the fist. Walker tried to do the same. The volleyball effort looking for Murphy. It's cut off. And the clearing kick from the Saints hits Steele, and the mark is paid. Thought he had enough of it. Cook was right alongside him. They both hit the deck, and the skipper's been given the benefit of the doubt. Plays on quickly, buffeted as he kicks up towards centre wing. Dawson underneath it, couldn't take the intercept. Keeps fighting and becomes the tackler, closer to the logo. Ripped out of there by Laird. Back to Keane. Snaps around the body up towards Walker and cut off by Steele. Here comes the play between the arcs we've been seeing all night as he jams it up towards half forward. And the Crows are waiting. They've fumbled though. Laird looking to knock it to Smith and over the boundary line. They're up by 8, Adelaide, but it's going to be a messy final term on ABC Sport.
It's Jack Steele and Rowan Marshall having a healthy discussion there as to where the football should have gone as opposed to where it went.
Marshall, the arms out, pointing to where it should have gone. Ruckman negate each other. Nobody touches it. Jones got a hand pass out. Sinclair took it, having been given it by Steele. Slung to ground by Berry. Adelaide get it away in the end. It's with Cook. He lost it. Now he tackles. Filippo out of the contest, and then Jones picked it up, hacked it forward. Inside forward 50. Ball on the ground. Standing up, doing it well was Wood, but then his kick was smothered by Smith. Then he was tackled by Wood coming the other way. Still the umpire calls play on. It's like an under-10s match. Honestly, it's so hard to handle the ball. Of all people, it's Riley O'Brien who got it cleanly down towards Fogarty. He knocked it on. Webster's gone to ground. Tackled well by Murphy. Holds the hand aloft. Umpire says ball it up. All of that action, and the Crows have managed to get it ahead of centre wing.
Sam Berry tackle there too on Sinclair. That's incorrect disposal or dropping the ball.
Tossed up, O'Brien down, Dawson. Off a step, torpedo in the wet, into the 50, too long for Fogarty. Out comes Thilthorpe, the crowd rises again. Tackles Battle to the deck, he didn't have the footy. Free kick to the Saints in defensive 50. They're down by 8. Bill hasn't liked their tactics tonight, thinks Ross Lyons not handled the wet well. Also says the Saints are klutzy ball users. That's on 0437 774 774. As Battle exits to right half back, a 6-year deal on the table from the Hawks if he wants to take it in free agency.
Most of the night, the Saints have actually gone at 70% or more in terms of their kicking efficiency. It's dropped a little now at 58, but they've been very clean.
His kick to Marshall knocked over the boundary line, so it'll be tossed back in. Adelaide by 8.
O'Brien with the tap down. Sends it forward. Keys couldn't handle it. Filippo was in there, had a bit of a hack at the ball. Still the ball on the ground. Keys just stands up and hacks it forward with a soccer kick. Picked up by Fogarty, shook off one, got a foot to the ball, into the pocket, Keys. I don't think for a second Fogarty meant that. He just wanted to get a kick away, and he did. It went to his left by about 20 metres in the power tackle coming from 2 St Kilda players, and Keys was in the right place.
Play on.
Out the back with a hand pass to Walker. Around the corner, Walker slips it through, and the umpire will recall it.
Why can't he play on there?
He was setting the mark. He'd blown time off. That's the only reason the ball would be called
Good
back.
answer, Crossy. Good answer.
What's a good answer?
Getting back to Key's shot on goal, I'll come back to it in a second.
Looks like he's going to go with the right foot, and he goes with the right foot and hooked it too far for the minus score. Crowd not happy, but the umpire was setting the mark with time off, and you can't obviously play on at that time. Minus score for Adelaide extends their lead to 9 points, and we're 5 minutes into the last quarter.
It was great play by Keys. He socketed it in there in what you should do in these conditions, then followed up really hard to get back inside 50 and was rewarded. Pity he missed that shot.
Wanganeen Miller charges out of the defensive goal square unopposed. Went long to the broadcast wing. Down to Zach Jones and now up towards the attacking edge of the square. Right half forward. Adelaide have the numbers. Nankervis to Murray. Back up the broadcast wing. Big push. Edged O'Brien out of the drop. Free kick to go his way. The Bronx cheers from the home crowd. They've had the free kick count against them most of the night. They hand it to Dawson. Kick just up towards the 50. Didn't really look at a target. Big head clash as Keys gathered the footy and bounced off Hunter Clark, who stayed down. Keys keeps fighting and clotheslined by Zach Jones. He's done well.
Oh, I think Wangalin, Miller and also Zach Jones certainly let Keys know that he put his head over the foot. Yes.
Keys earns the hard ball, plays on into the 50 to O'Brien. Couldn't control it through his hands, burns at the back, tackled by Murphy. We've seen a few of those pinged tonight. This one won't be paid. Ball up in front of the scoreboard.
Great pressure by Murphy. That's what he's there to do, Murphy. As a small forward.
It was brave by Burns to actually try and pick it up. He should have just kicked it off the ground.
Saints off the ruck contest. Clark just gained another 20 metres. Big question here for you, gentlemen. You've coached. Tell me this. In these wet conditions, do you take a punt as a forward and hang out the back when the ball's coming in like that, because it went straight through the hands and perhaps there was an open goal begging for Adelaide?
Yeah, absolutely. The ball normally will go to the back in these conditions, Crosby. Good call. And yeah, you do smart forwards like a Walker, which should be getting on the end of those at the back.
Saints hack it out, taken by Butts, sends it back forward for Adelaide. Thilthorpe the target off his hands, straight down. Tackle made on Patton, the sub, who's come on for this final quarter. And ball up, 25 out for the Crows.
Adelaide by 9. O'Brien a couple of chances to tap it, and Thilthorpe looks to barge through the bulldozer. Lost the footy in the process. And sliding in, a couple of tackles will be laid on Saligo to hold things up.
The beast, the bulldozer, the bear.
Just
all the bees.
We'll see
all
what
the
sticks.
bees.
Tossed up.
The killer bees.
O'Brien missed the tap, and Marshall gathers at his bootlaces. Quick kick out of there. Rushing the exit, Nankervis tried to keep it in play, paddling it back towards Bond, but
go to the other
rolls
bee.
Over the line. Braden Ingram downstairs.
Would you believe it? The rain has just about stopped. Hopefully hold off for the rest of the match. Mateus Filippo has just rejoined the bench. He was getting a fair bit of work on his groin, but he looks like he'll be good to rejoin the play shortly.
If you've just joined us, both subs activated, both tactical, so Bonner and Thilthorpe out. Thilthorpe in rather. Patton is out in for the Saints as well. I've muddled up the orders there. But
who's on second?
Patton and Thilthorpe in, and Bonner and Himmelberg out off the boundary throw-in. Free kick going the way of the Crows. Jordan Butts is held there by Steele as he sends it up to right half forward. Marshall was all alone in the hole and decided to go the double fist, and he's knocked it straight to Keys. He could have cut it off. It's a chance for Adelaide as he hooks it into the 50, spilled out the back. Jones was there in the defensive goal square and dummies past Saligo as well. Then shanks it. Oh, his good work is unravelled so quickly. Free kick to Adelaide on the pain of 50. So confident was Zach Jones, but the wet weather caught him.
Like it. Absolutely like that, Aaron, too. The fact that he took it on, and at worst, he's 60 out.
Brodie Smith back inside 50. He's given the Saints some relief as he kicks it straight to Wanganeen Miller. Here's Jones again, tackled by Dowling, holding the ball. He can't do a thing right in this final term. Billy Dowling has it in the pocket, 25 out. Crows by 9. Can he make it a 3-kick game?
Great tackle.
I think the fact that
holding the ball.
Zach Jones, he had the second. He went to give it one way and then kept it to go the other.
Not quite sure about the angle that the umpires lined him up on. He's facing almost the left-hand behind post. He doesn't seem to mind. Dowling snaps and finishes with ease. And it's a 15-point lead in the wet for the Crows. It is a game-high margin. 7-11-53 to the Saints, 5-8-38. 11 minutes into the final term. Saturday night footy on ABC Sport. Aaron Bryans, Neil Cross, Rod Jamieson, Dean Brogan and Braden Ingram with you.
Even before Jones made those two mistakes, Ross Lyon, he snapped the phone again. I'd hate to be in the Saints' rooms post-game if they can't get the job done tonight.
They've got to send him the bill, Jamo.
I think he'll probably end up... You can't just keep doing it, by the way. Billy Dowling in his 5th game, really good composure. He's had a steady, solid game, and that is his 3rd straight goal.
He looks good, doesn't he? A lot of their kids tonight, Dowling, Cook, Taylor, they've shown a bit in really tough conditions, which we always love to see.
What about that in the middle there, Crossy?
Thilthorpe, yep.
Against Mitch Owens.
Against Mitch Owens. He's got about 30 centimetres in height over him, and he reached up and tapped it down, but now he goes again. Thilthorpe taps it down. Henry takes it away. Thilthorpe makes the tackle. Henry kicks it towards Burns, who juggled it. Now he takes off. He kicks towards goal. He tried to keep it low and slide it through, but he only kicked it out of bounds.
Crowd want deliberate.
Crowd wanted sufficient intent.
I reckon he celebrated that as it left his boot. He was already fist pumping and it was nowhere near the goal.
Everything.
I think he was just happy that the Saints had got a kick that went over 40 metres.
Crows by 15. Toss back in, Thilthorpe front position, paddles it towards the boundary line. Dowling gets there first and knocks it back over. We've got the close game tonight. Adelaide by 15, and over at the MCG, the Demons have blown the Bombers away.
Surprising.
They're up by 41 now in the final term.
Rowan Marshall is on the bench having a rest here, so Ross Lyons still persevering with Owens.
Tossed in, Thilthorpe down. Only found Filippo. Ricocheted out towards Taylor. Quick kick around the body. Trying to get it to left half back. Saligo couldn't get there in time. Wilkie just towed it towards the boundary line. They want to deliver it. They're not going to get it.
Rowan Marshall is jumping up and down on the boundary, arms in the air.
Screaming to get on, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he was trying to get, I think maybe it was Sharman. He was trying to get him to come off, and Sharman's saying, well, hang on. We're in our front half at the moment. Thilthorpe out of the ruck, brings it down to the front. Laird did well, shuffled it out. Michael and he picked it up, just handballed it forward. And stretching down with Saligo, it came off his shoulder and out of bounds again. Marshall still can't get on the ground. He thought he had it then. They're counting their numbers. I think they do. Well, you hope they've got the right numbers. Now on the ground.
Where's Jordan Dawson?
And Marshall's come back on. Laird takes it away from the contest. Kick partially smothered on the logo on centre wing. Walker comes through, leaves the ball behind. Now Michael Annie on the ground. Umpire circles and says, yep, we'll ball it up yet again. About the 1,430th ball up we've seen in this match. Low scoring affair. Crows by 15 points.
Tapped down by Marshall. Clean bowled Laird. Picked up by Berry, dropped it in the steel tackle. Pinballs its way back to Laird. Tunnelled it through to Rochelle, and then a socker off the deck from Dowling. Finds its way to Walker at 55, and he goes, let's bang it long to the goal square to Thilthorpe. So strong. Matched up with Dougal Howard, and he just shoved him to the deck.
Well, Adelaide fans would be that excited to see that. That was impressive.
Yeah.
And the way he just walks off and holds the ball in one hand. It's a modern day Charlie Dixon.
Even Anthony Koutafidis, remember how he just used to have it in one hand? That's how small the ball looks.
Thilthorpe comes in from 20. And the beast roars at the Adelaide Oval. They come from everywhere. His first game of the campaign, and within half a quarter, he looks imposing. Adelaide by 21, 8:11:59 to the Saints, 5:8:38. Still 10 to play in this final term. Saturday night footy on ABC Sport. Your experts, premiership players, Rod Jamieson, Dean Brogan.
Well, there's still 10 minutes to go, so I'm not going to say at the moment 21 points is insurmountable, but in these conditions where the Saints only kicked 4 at half time and 1 in the third, they're going to have to get 4 for the remainder of this last quarter to give themselves a chance. But Adelaide's ability to win the football, get it forward, out of those congested areas, really clean in that last passage of play.
The Saints have only been inside 50 twice this quarter, so they're playing with a lot of defenders and a lot of spares back there to help their defence, but they don't even look like scoring.
Ball held up in the middle. We'll get a secondary ball up. Umpire falls over. Slips in the wet. Hand pass out of there made by Clark. Only found Nankervis, who sends it forward for Adelaide. Off the pack, over the back. Burns took it out towards centre wing. Comes off the chest and over the line from Mason Wood. He hand passed it as he was going to ground, and he gave 10 metres and the umpire said insufficient intent.
How many is that? That's got to be almost a record for a game, isn't it?
Taylor takes off for Adelaide, drives to half forward, big pack again. Down the front it comes Patton, slipped it out. Then a hand pass by Clark, found the ground. Laird hooks it inside 50. Here comes Thilthorpe, brings it the ground. Wanganeen Miller kicking the tackle, just goes high. Couple of Crows, Dawson and O'Brien both run into each other, and as a result ball to ground. Another ball up to come. Braden Ingram's down on the boundary where one of the Saints is in trouble. Battle coming off the ground.
Yeah, it's his right ankle after that contest. A lot of pain, and he's just gone to the bench now.
Deliberate out of bounds, 8 in this game. 4 to the each.
Crows by 21. Nankervis pounds it towards the goal square, holding free kick. And Riley Thilthorpe has another. The crowd rises for him. He's straight in front, top of the goal square.
And Wanganeen Miller are also on the limb too. Bent over, not sure, lower leg, but might require another injury with only 9 minutes remaining.
It's falling apart fast for the Saints. Competitive throughout the night in a slog, but this final quarter hasn't gone their way.
Going back a long way too here, Riley Thilthorpe.
Man on the marks, top of the goal square. He's going to start his run up from 35 out.
Like Michael Holding style. He's going back further.
Put someone in the car park because this is going to clear the hill. Riley Thilthorpe on return. Slots it. And the thrill is back. Thilthorpe has a double. Adelaide by a game high 27. 9-11-65 to 5-8-38 as we close in on time on in the final term. Saturday night footy on ABC Sport. It's great to have your company on ABC Radio, Sport Digital and the ABC Listen app.
Well, when you spend as much time as you did in rehab, you get stronger, you get fitter. He's been one out with Dougal Howard 2 times now, and has made Dougal Howard look like a first gamer. Dougal Howard's been around for 10 years, so that's a lot of strength on his part too. We saw Dougal Howard throw Fogarty to the ground earlier tonight. Just shows what rehab can do for you and how strong you can get through your core and your legs and just tidy up your body and become a professional athlete. And he looks $1 million, doesn't he?
Out of the middle, Dawson just hacks it towards centre wing and beyond, almost to the boundary line. Jones picked it up, gave it to Wanganeen Miller, who fumbled, and he was carried across the line in the tackle by Dowling. So it's ahead of centre, but only just for the Saints. They haven't made much headway in this final quarter. Crows have had that injection of Thilthorpe up forward with a couple of goals.
How good.
Great from Berry off the ruck contest. Gave a hand pass out to Dowling, down to half forward. Sliding in was Cook. He goes with a pass. Thilthorpe was on the lead. Didn't hit him, rolled over the back. Rochelli's there, inside the boundary line. Off to Thilthorpe, centred it up. Probably hit the belly of the ball, so not exactly where he wanted to go. Wanganeen Miller with the intercept.
Dangerous exit, very wide of Marshall. O'Brien cuts it off, gathered, quickly tackled, dropped it. So the Saints continue to move the footy on this counter punch up the broadcast wing. Again, low and hard as it bounces its way towards Owens. Kept in play by Sharman, who paddles it back to Mitch. He's wrapped up by Dowling. Ball up in front of the benches. The holding the ball free kicks have been so erratic tonight.
Yeah, what do we got holding the ball?
Oh, that's final term.
Yep.
Jamo's navigating the champion data laptop as O'Brien wins it down. 14 holding the balls.
There's 22 frees. Adelaide, 27 to St Kilda.
Just sometimes players gather on the bounce and they're pinged immediately, and other times they're given the benefit of the doubt, and it just hasn't been consistent. O'Brien down. Knocked forward in the path of Saligo, but runs out of ground as Miller pushes him over the paint. Over at the MCG, margins coming back down a little bit.
Ooh.
Time on in the fourth, Melbourne by 23, but it was 41 about 5 minutes ago, so maybe a late charge from the Bombers, but they're running out of time fast.
Anyone pick Melbourne?
No. Did pick Adelaide, though. They're up by 27 here at the Adelaide Oval.
I think it's a question of what's the margin going to be for Adelaide from here.
At the moment with this competition, honestly, everyone's beating everybody. It's other than Sydney, it's really tight, isn't it?
Well, I make that prediction last week. No, I said it was possible that 11.5 wins might even get you into the 8. There are so many teams and it's so close. But anyway, ball back into play from a throw in. O'Brien with a nice tap down to Soligo. Ran into a tackle straight away. Umpires look at it.
Look at that.
And off the ball, there was a free kick handed out by the off the ball umpire, the down ground umpire. Off to Dawson, inside 50 with his kick. Howard just knocked it forward. Laird tried to go back to Soligo, battling on hard, just taps it out. Off Dawson. Now it's back with battle to Wanganeen Malira by hand. Down towards Henry. The ball sat up straight. Still they go in. Nankervis couldn't get it cleanly. Henry did. Got the hand pass out to Wanganeen Malira. Showed it very well. Goes inside, touches the ball on the ground, and then the kick just lets him down slightly.
Knocked away towards right half forward for the Saints. Sharman keeps going. Toes it up towards the pocket. Higgins in a one-on-one. Battling there and beaten. Bond did everything he possibly could to get it to the boundary line. He's looked all right on debut.
He has. Just with that small forward, just going to have a look here.
He's not a major ball winner, but he plays the role well.
It's probably more Jack Higgins. He's only had the 7 disposals tonight and kicked the one behind.
Tossed in. O'Brien down straight towards Sinclair. Squares it up with a screw kick. Had it in the lap of Sharman, but he was entangled with Scholl. Ricochets out. Butler tried to hand it off to Owen. Set upon by a couple of Crows. Caught, ball up. Straight in front. 30 out. Saints 50. Down by 27.
Saints only 3 inside 50s for the quarter. It's not going to win you many football games if you can't get the ball inside 50.
Composed by Taylor. And as a result, Dowling got the ball, put the ball on the left foot, and the mark taken by Keys just outside defensive 50. Slows things down. Hand passes off to Nankervis. He sends it down the line, and Thilthorpe comes forward away from his man and takes the mark. Looks centrally, drops it into the path of the big ruckman in O'Brien. Perhaps not the greatest of kicks, but O'Brien makes a great tackle. It was about to be rebounded off by Sharman, and he pulled him down at the top of the attacking 50. Umpire puts the ball in the air. Comes down for Sinclair here, clear it away for St Kilda.
Up the corridor they go. Butts got a fist in it, actually ricocheted back to him. Caught him on the scon. And now wrapped up by Owens. Ball up in the centre square.
I can't help but help Riley O'Brien, who was a big bloke in James Bond movies with the teeth. That's what he just got
Jaws. Richard Kyle.
Yeah, just lumbering down and then takes on the tackle.
Shout out to our tech Paul Brokenshaw who threw that in our ears just then. As it comes out of the stoppage towards the left forward pocket.
We've got the Euros on here.
Bouncing off a couple of shins. It is a bit of footwork and soccer skills, but there is a goalkeeper in play. And it is the skipper, Jordan Dawson, sitting back on the behind line to cut it off for the Saints. Speaking of the Euros, good little segue there, Jamo. ABC Sport has the rights to broadcast the final Monday morning, 4:32 a.m. Eastern, between England and Spain. So you can hear that on Sport Digital and the ABC Listen app. Adelaide exit defensive 50. Fogarty beats Battle in the one-on-one. Chest mark as well after a wet night.
Just go to the beast.
Down the line he goes.
The Australian werewolf in Adelaide. There you go.
Laird was all alone, close to the boundary line, true centre wing, and he's given it away. Just a casual kick to Scholl and floating across. Burns knew exactly where it was headed. Cuts it off back towards the attacking edge of the square. They converge, throw a blanket over them. Ball hits the deck. Keys' handball again. Very nonchalant. Trying to get it back to Scholl. He just needs his teammates to hit him. Tackle laid, ball up to come. Stuck between the Bashir and Williams stands. Adelaide by 27. Still 4 to play.
I never doubt his work rate, but tongue-in-cheek, he's just got to go. It's very rare you say Ben Keys clean football.
Yeah.
Well, the ball is clean. It's been soaking wet all night, though. O'Brien just kicked, I think he kicked it into a head then, and it came back to him. Somehow pinging around in there. Smith picks it up. He's tackled immediately by Hunter Clark. He has been the hunter tonight, no doubt about that. But he hasn't been able to help his side put a decent score on the board. Here's Sinclair out of traffic to Patton, inside forward 50. Back goes Keane, knocks it wide. Higgins had it spent before he got it, and it went through his legs and then out of bounds in the forward pocket, about 20 around from the goal face. River Torrens is flowing at that end. Been water flowing everywhere tonight.
Jordan Dawson behind the ball. Adelaide like to do this to shut down quarters and games with their captain going behind the footy.
Tossed in Marshall, paddled it over his head straight to Dowling, then Dawson. Scrambles the kick up towards the square. Foot race on with the attacking half empty. Saligo chasing there alongside Patton. Spills out towards Thilthorpe, clean back to Saligo, then Dowling again. Thilthorpe kept running towards the boundary line and a big fend off of Patton. Unmovable. Kick up towards left half forward. Looking for a Shelley and it rolls to the boundary line. He wants to keep it in play. Hands it back off, trying to find Saligo, cut off by Steele. The Saints now under a bit of pressure. Patton off towards Wood. He gave it straight back to Dowling. Spills towards Cook. Keys into the pocket. Fogarty's one out. Had to rise above. Did well against Battle. Brought it down. Sliding in. Can't control it. Battle beat him to it. Hands it to Wilkie for the Saints. And Schoenmaker rushes it back out towards the broadcast wing. Clears Owens.
Great.
Sitting at the back is Smith. Back towards Dowling. And up to half forward. It's cut off by the Saints once again.
Just over 2 minutes remaining.
Patton plays on from half-back into the centre square area. Ball bobbles around again. Bond came through, slipped a hand pass out. Umpire will call for the ball up. It found Taylor, who regrets taking it because he was smothered by a tackle straight away. Ball goes in the air. And somehow Marshall got a foot to it. Bobbles out. Wanganeen Miller threw it over his head off to Mason Wood. Inside forward 50 with the kick. Slips over the back. That was where Owens was. Just enough room to squeeze a shot at goal. Hit the post, minus score for the Saints. Their first score of the final quarter comes at the 28-minute mark. 26 the margin still in favour of the Crows, who've kicked 3 goals, 1 in their final quarter.
Full time at the G. Melbourne winners by 17 over the Bombers. So the D's are back in the top 8. And Essendon blow a chance to make it into the top 4 once again.
First game of Hugh Bond. He's cramping up.
Dawson kicks it out of defensive 50. Up to left half back. 3-on-3 there. Laird a bit of tunnel ball. Got a handball out towards Nankervis. Kept it in play tightly. Uses Dowling. Thrusts it up in the direction of Fogarty. Nearly took the chest mark in slippery conditions. Shot out and head over the footy. Tackle laid. An orthodox one, albeit, on Jake Saligo. Rowan Marshall almost locked him in a bit of a pedigree there.
It did. It was almost they could have kept rolling if they were going downhill.
Marshall down to Filippo. Volleyed it out of the air straight up and down. So O'Brien just says, I'll stick a fist in and smash it forward. Fogarty was there. Gives it off to Keys. Into the 50. Had more time than he realised. But Schoenmaker's made a meal of it. Dropped it. Rochelle pounces and goals. Celebrates with the punters in front of the scoreboard. Rocky Rochelle's got his first of the night in the dying stages. Crows by 32. A game high, 10-11-71 to 5-9-39 as we close in on the final siren. Saturday night footy on ABC Sport.
Well, it's just a really difficult game again for the defensive Saints to be able to play the pressure. They've got to go up and back, and then also get some rebound from their half-back line. But in this last quarter, Adelaide are now 21 more disposals. Saints are going at 27% kicking efficiency. Adelaide 58. The uncontested is 45-18 in this quarter. So once the footy's gone out in the open, what you just saw then, Adelaide well on top.
Several hands on the ball in the middle. Wanganeen Miller are the last of them. He's tackled and now pops out again. And still, it's on the bottom of the pack. There's a free kick being picked out. I think it might be Cook who's last man up for Adelaide. No, it's Taylor. So Wood with the free kick off to Wanganeen Miller has set him up. Didn't have any room to move. Somehow he squeezed out a kick. Keys slides into the ball as it comes to ground. And he can't get possession. It was taken there by Webster and a tackle made by O'Brien. So we get a ball up. It's near the attacking 50 for the Saints. They paddle it forward as best they can. Wilson comes out for a rare touch and he's tackled as well. Adelaide will celebrate. Well, not the prettiest of victories, but very much needed.
Absolutely take it.
It'll be the Saints' lowest score in 2 years as well. Free kick to Marshall against O'Brien in the ruck contest. So a set shot incoming.
This will be it.
It's only a matter of the margin. The Crows will win in the wet. Rowan Marshall loads up from 60. Booming kick. Swings late. No score. Adelaide by 32. The Crows leapfrogging out of the bottom four. Banishing the Saints to limbo. They win 10-11-71 to 5-9-39. A single-digit margin essentially all the way up until three-quarter time, and then the Crows blew it away in the final term. 4 goals to 1 behind in that final term as the 8-point margin soared its way to 32. Adelaide moved to 6-10-1. The Saints stuck at 6-11 as the Crows celebrate at home on a tough night here in South Australia. Adelaide drowning St Kilda's momentum on a wet night at the Adelaide Oval. The Saints knocked off the Swans last week, and to back it up, they've posted their lowest score since round 15, 2022. In the end, posting 5-9-39 as Adelaide ran away with it at home. Riley Thilthorpe, the sub, had a dominant final term, 2 goals, looks ready to rock for the run home in 2024. Meanwhile, Rory Laird, emphatic in the middle with 31, and Jordan Dawson with 26 to his name as well. We're going to be with you for the next 45 minutes, so if you want to get in touch, the text line is 0437 774 774. Stephen Ballarat has done just that. Says, it must be horrible to support a team coached by Ross Lyon. 5 minutes into the last quarter, down by, at that point was 8 points, and says you are already doomed because unfortunately teams coached by Ross Lyon don't score. And that's what happened, Steve. So great shout out to you on the text line, 0437 774 774 if you want to get in touch. We'll try and get into both rooms as well with Braden Ingram downstairs, and a repeat as well that over at the MCG, Melbourne defeated Essendon by 17 points in that matchup. Jamo, Brogues, the Crows surging towards victory late. What broke the shackles in that final term?
Contest, energy around the footy, their will to play the conditions a little bit better than I thought. St Kilda, they scrapped a little bit harder. I thought Keys, Laird and Saligo, their last quarters when the game was on the line was sensational. And look, some people are just built to play in these conditions, and Ben Keys is one of those players. And yep, he's scrappy, he's not polished, but geez, he has a crack. He really rips in. So, he's had a fantastic game. 16 contested possessions, 13 ground balls, 6 clearances, 1 goal, 3. That's him though. That's what he does. I mean, He kicked 4 last week, but he can turn up and kick 1 goal, 3. But his energy around the footy in conditions like this certainly helped them in the last quarter. I thought Scholl's game was really good. I thought he was really efficient in the wet. But yeah, look, Adelaide, since the bye, they've looked good. They're playing at a decent level now that is consistent. They're not, the last 3 weeks They haven't faded in and out of games. They've stayed pretty strong, and I really like their attitude tonight. They were a little bit slow out of the blocks, but once they got a talking to at quarter time, they responded, and that's always a good sign that the coach still has the players. And I know there's been a lot of talk about Matthew Nicks, but they responded to whatever he said to them, and hopefully we'll find out. We'll ask the plays, whatever players we get, what was said to you at quarter time, because they were getting smashed in all the contest work. So, really happy for Thilthorpe.
It's a mouthful.
I know. I was really I'm really happy he came on. Shows how much we know. Adelaide know what they're doing with him. He came on, looks good, looks sharp, and how exciting to have your future come in and have 7 and kick 2 in the rain. He looked really good. But no, well done Adelaide. But St Kilda, I don't know, Jamo. I know you say they've got the game plan. You think they've got the game plan, but when you don't, when you can't score, you can't win.
Yeah.
I just don't know, and I don't think they're around. Their contest works really good, but no, I don't think they're got a game plan that can win.
Well, even their victory over the Swans last week, Sydney kicked 11-16. They had plenty of chances to win it, and they probably choked that one, the Swans, and the Saints pulled off a massive upset, but arguably shouldn't have been the victors because neither side reached anywhere near 100 points. It'd be frustrating, I think, for Saints fans because the club is all in on Ross Lyon. I managed to call a game with Nathan Burke, the Hall of Famer, a couple of weeks ago, and asked him about, I guess, internally, where's the messaging coming from? Is there any feedback from those greats of the club? And he said no, that basically Ross calls the shots in that footy club and they're all in on him. And he's not going to change his game plan if that's the case.
No, well, he always has. And I guess he has. I guess being out of the game, though, you'd suggest that he views it and sees it a little bit differently, and they have to score, and you'd have the right people around you. So I think he would understand that they have to score, but I think it's always been, and I could go back and check all this, but it's like something like the last 18 years, probably for 10 of those, it was actually the best defensive team in the competition, always played in the grand final, always. Didn't always win, but probably in the last 6 to 8 years, the top 4 defensive teams are in the grand final and there's only minor margins in terms of, what they keep their opposition to. So it's a fundamental fact, and historically, that you have to defend. You have to almost be a better defensive team, but you've obviously got to have this offensive flair, and you've got to be able to score. And I think the Saints can, and we spoke about they've missed by 6 games where they should have won. I mean, you talk about Collingwood last year, talk about Adelaide and what they can't do, and they can't win the close one. So again, I think that I don't mind it. I'm not an absolute big Saints fan, but I think they've got something about them that can actually win games, that's for sure.
All about the Crows tonight, though, for the home fans. They got 34,549 in attendance, considering it's been a miserable day in Adelaide.
It's a great crowd.
A testament to some of the Saints fans that showed up as well, considering the last game was 29,000 with the Giants in-house. So clearly some more visitors and some more home fans as well. They've made their way down the race. Braden Ingram's in the room to watch on. Adelaide winners by 32. What's it like down there, Braden?
Big round of applause, handshakes, a lot of love. It is a really packed rooms as well. They're going to sing the song for just the 4th time at home this season, and you imagine they're going to belt it out. Certainly Riley Philthorpe, he'd be maybe not in the centre, but certainly at the centre of things, given his long comeback.
Might jump in there, Braden. Riley Philthorpe isn't going to make it. He's running laps right now to, I imagine, get his conditioning up, so they're going to have to start it without him.
Well, at the moment we see the debutant Bond getting a lot of high fives and a lot of love. He will be in the centre of this circle. Usually they do get the sub involved, but that's clearly not going to be the case because they're about to go now. And he's nowhere to be seen. We're just getting all set up. Got a couple of young kids involved in the song as well, which is great to see as Bond gets the Gatorade showered all over him. We're just getting into position now to belt the theme song out.
Royal South Australia, we're the mighty Adelaide Crows. We're courageous, stronger, faster, and respected by our foes. Admiration of the nation, a determination show. We're the pride of South Australia, we're the mighty Adelaide Crows.
No sign of Riley Philthorpe, boys. I don't think they'll sing the song for him twice, will they?
Tell you what, he wasn't happy, Braden. As soon as they started, he threw his arms up in the air in the middle of the centre square because they are making him run laps right now, I imagine, for the conditioning because he only played the quarter tonight. But in the end, got an applause. But he's just standing out there with his hands on his hips and he doesn't look stoked about what he's having to do right
showed
now.
the rooms and the song on the big screen. And
he's had to watch it while running.
That'd be the worst feeling, playing a quarter and having to stay out there and do your conditioning when everyone's downstairs celebrating. But
he looks really flat, doesn't he?
You've got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, one of the conditioning staff was out there. I'm not sure if there was confusion over whether he should have gone down to the rooms and then came out. But he's still continuing to run sprints through the wall.
It's almost like a beep drill, beep test.
Yeah, it's like three-quarter pace through about 70 metres up and back at the middle of the ground. That's what he's doing.
The fans have stuck around to applaud him.
Every time he finishes.
He's going end to end, and the fans behind the goals are having a field day. But Paul Riley it's the beginning, hopefully, of a new era for him. But he was very impressive tonight, and it's a shame he didn't get to sing the song because he played a really pivotal part in that final quarter when the margin was tight to kick consecutive goals and push what was an 8-point margin up towards 27. I think he deserves to be amongst their Jamo.
Well, I'd actually love to see them allow the crowd to get onto the ground now and have a whole heap of them line up with him and just run through on the side. That would be actually pretty cool.
Not going to happen, though.
No.
So he's at in terms of the change rooms, we're at the River Torrens end of the ground. So he's at the back end of the centre square, about to go again. Gets the signal. Yep, off he goes. So it's one of those cases where you've got to run 70, 80 metres, walk back to ready to start again, and you get 40, 50 seconds of rest in between starting the next run.
He's had a good last quarter. What did he have? 7 and kicked 2. Got around, which we didn't think they would put him in the ruck, but they're obviously pretty happy with where he's at to throw him in there. So he's ticked again. He's ticked obviously a lot of boxes to get back to where he is now, but they'd be wrapped with how he went in that last quarter. And the conditions, we were saying conditions aren't going to suit him, but he looked really good for someone who's been sitting there for 3 quarters.
Yep.
Comes on when the game's tight.
And it is cold and wet. And it's a glimpse of the future for Adelaide tonight because obviously you've got Billy Dowling's only a few games into his career, Hugh Bond making his debut. You've got the likes of Luke Nankervis out there and Braden Cook and Jake Saligo, all of these guys who have played moderate amounts of football down to just a handful of games.
But they're starting to play well and they're getting games together in, which is important. And Nankervis, for me, he's been a real find for them this year. He's been really good. I really like his game. I think he's going to be a super player.
Yeah.
Taylor's come in. Nankervis, Dowling and Taylor. Well, Nankervis had 20. Dowling's had 20. Taylor's had 18. So the future's starting to all of a sudden look okay.
And Josh Worrell too to come back in. And when I thought the back line was really sound tonight. Keane, Nankervis, Butts, Murray, Michael Lanny, Smith at times, but Bond finished with 6 and thought he was good also.
Great victory for the Crows, winners by 32 points. Let's head into the rooms and see how they're feeling. Braden Ingram downstairs.
Yeah, I've got midfielder Jake Saligo's had a day out, 25 touches. But Jake, first of all, you just sung the song, but Paul Riley Philthorpe, he's still out there. He didn't get involved in the song. He's going to be flat with you blokes.
Yeah, I know, he'll be absolutely flat, but it's all part of being the sub, so he'll get it done.
What did you make of his performance? The 7 touches, 2 goals, comes on, and they're calling him the beast upstairs. He just looks mammoth, and he certainly had an impact on that game in the final quarter.
Absolutely, we all knew it was going to happen. He's worked really hard in rehab to get his knee right. He's put some crazy amount of muscle on, and he looks good in the training sessions and all that. So to see him do that tonight, we all expected it. I thought it was great.
In terms of the clash itself, it looks like that first quarter probably didn't go your way, and Nixie came out to you, went straight to you, didn't actually talk to the line coaches, and probably gave you 90 seconds of his best. Just talk us through what that message was and how he helped turn it around.
I think we were negative, I don't know, some crazy number in contest. So we just wanted to get back on track and win that next quarter. We weren't thinking about the future of the result. We're just thinking about getting back to the process, and I think that's what got done for us tonight.
And just the last one, I mean, it seems like a really good vibe in the rooms. I guess that's probably something you've been lacking this year. You see that everyone getting around Hugh Bond, the debutant. Is that kind of that winning feeling you've been missing the most?
Yeah, absolutely. I love winning, and it's great to sing the song. So to see Bondi debut, I thought he was great on Higgins all day, and looking at one of the best small forwards in the comp probably. But and Zach Taylor coming and playing a full game, I thought he was amazing in there inside. So all the boys are stepping up, which is great.
Gentlemen, take it away.
Yeah, Jake, Rod Jamieson, well done in your own game too, but a good team one. What about when you come up against a team like St Kilda and a Ross Lyon coach team? Are they one of the more harder teams to actually play against?
Yeah, absolutely. Full credit to them. I thought they were really good. Especially that first quarter, they tested us, but we knew what we needed to get back to, and that was the contest and the process. So to do that in the last 3 quarters, I thought was really proud of the boys.
So what's the plan? Because they send up a lot of high half forwards, and they get numbers around the contest in the middle and back too. Is it to just sit back, or do you actually do you go with them?
It's a hard one because they got Liam Henry up there. He gets around the ball, and full credit to him. He's a great player, so I think Maxi did a good job on him tonight. So we knew what they were coming in with, but I thought we got it done. And those last 3 quarters, I thought we stuck to the process, which is great.
How good does the back line look now? I mean, certainly Mark Keane sort of held it up, as has Jordan Butts at times, but now Nick Murray's certainly back in there, played a few games. It was really sound again tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's another one, Nick Murray, who attacked his rehab really good. I thought he's come back with massive muscle, and I think Nate Curvis as well. I think he's been really good down back, and he's holding up his own. So, really proud of the boys down back.
Jake, Dean Brogan here, mate. Congratulations on the win. Mate, I want to talk about your year. I think you're becoming one of the elite midfielders of your own team, obviously, but you're starting to make headways in the competition. So people are really starting to know you now, mate. What do you put your improvement down here this year?
Thanks, mate. Probably just, in the off-season, put on a bit of size. You can't do it without the boys in there, like Dawson and Lairdy and Berry as well. So they're able to get that first possession and hand it out to me, so I can't thank them enough for that.
And the conditions tonight, we haven't played in conditions like that for a while. How hard was it for us calling the game? It looked hard. Talk to us about the conditions.
Yeah, it's very slippery out there. It's nice to play a wet game here and there. It brings you back to local footy, so I was happy to be out there under the rain. But it's just good to get the contest done, and we knew how we wanted to win, so it's good.
Do you feel since the bye, your last 3 weeks as a group have been really strong? Your performances have been really good. You took it to Brisbane last week, who are probably the hottest team in the AFL at the minute. Do you feel you're making some headway towards the end of the season with the group you've got now?
Yeah, absolutely. We just want to try and finish this season off with a bang. So hopefully we can win a few more games. But I thought the last 3 weeks have been in the game, but just probably consistency over 4 quarters has let us down. So if we can continue to play like tonight and have those 3 quarters where we brought the fight, I think that's going to help us in the back end of the season.
Jake Saligo's with us on ABC Sport. The Crows winners by 32 points. Jake, it's Aaron Bryans here. I've got to ask about Hugh Bond. You've got this plethora of nickname potentials and you landed on Bondy. Can you tell us how that came about?
Mate, I thought he was great tonight. He's a cracker bloke as well. One of my close mates at the club. So to see him perform tonight, I thought I was very proud of him, and everyone knew he could do it. He plays a bit like he leaves his heart out there, is what I'm trying to say, and you're going to get 100% from him. So that's what we love.
And the importance of finishing the season strong. I know some Crows fans get a bit frustrated that it feels like deja vu when you can't play finals football and you're looking ahead to 2025. But how important is it actually inside the 4 walls that you're having this really strong run heading into the off-season?
Yeah, absolutely. It's good for our confidence as well. We were very disappointed not to be able to make finals this year. It's hurt us a lot, but we just want to, we've had Bondi come in, we've had all these young guys like Zach Taylor come in, and I've got some more opportunities in the midfield, so it's to have that, I think, is almost as good.
Jake, it's Neil Cross here. I'm just back to your game. You mentioned there that you had put on a little bit of strength and size, and you were happy with that. Is that giving you the confidence, or is it Matthew Nicks as a coach who's giving you that confidence to really attack players who are coming at you, and you seem to try and be able to break through with your speed. Is that something that you've had the confidence to do this season?
Yeah, I don't know. I think over the off-season I really wanted to work on my drive and my legs and trying to take the game on a bit more. So I think just in that pre-season period, just trying to do that, even though you get caught here and there, just having that, I don't know, you get more of a sort of, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but well, you get, yeah, it's good.
Sorry. No, you're right. You mentioned Hugh Bond. You've got 50-odd games under your belt now. What sort of advice did you have for him coming into this game, and just what to expect and how to build over the next few games?
I don't know. I just don't feel I can give too much advice right now, but I'm sure Sloaney and stuff told him to just attack it and just leave it all out there like he does every game, and he showed us that tonight.
Jake, thanks for your time. Congratulations on the win, and fingers crossed you can carry it over to the Bombers next week in Melbourne.
Too easy. Thanks, guys.
Great to have Jake Saligo on the coverage after Adelaide's 32-point win. He had 25 touches, 9 of them contested, 5 tackles as well, and a couple of behinds to go with his name. So solidifying himself in that midfield. He's having a career-best season in terms of touches, and he's only 21, so plenty of football still to come from this young star.
I think he's the next Jet.
Yeah, he's a super. He's going to be. He's becoming a super player and one of the elite midfielders of the competition. And 50 games, you're finding your way a little bit, and then the next 50 is when you start to see the good players take the next step. And he's definitely taken that next step this year, and I just love the way he goes about it. And just hearing him talk then, he seems like a ripping kid. I don't know him that well, but everything you hear about him is that he's got potential, strong leadership, and the way that's a game where you can't hide tonight. Like it's wet, it's contested. He stood up. 21-year-old, he stood up. So well done. I really enjoyed watching him play.
I think he's certainly clean. He gets his head over the football, and I think, again, around getting his legs, like he'd just get hold of the football, pump your legs and get out of the contest, and then you can settle down and either dispose of the football, which is, I think, what he was trying to say. But, tonight he's had 25. He's had 13 kicks. His kicking efficiency only went at 15%, but I think a lot of that, too, was off the ground. So, again, he's just trying to win the ball, win ground, get it to grass, but as a complete player, he was certainly in that, was it third quarter? I think he had about like 11 or 12 disposals and really got Adelaide going with Lachie Shoal. Just having a look at the numbers in terms of the distance that some of these players run. So Mason Wood, who's had, I thought he was a reasonable player tonight. He had 15 disposals, 2 goals. He's run 16.2 kilometres, 25 sprints, and in those sprints, 3.1 kilometres at high speed. And then when you have a look at Ben Keys' numbers, he's 24 disposals, 16 contested, which Brogue spoke about. He's run 15.9, 26 sprints and 2.9 at high speed. It's an insane game. And I guess maybe I am too critical of him when we talk about he gets hold of the football and he's not clean, but he does so many other things.
He's cooked when he gets it.
Cooked.
But I thought what they did well tonight with Keys is they got him up. Because it was a contested game, he's their best contested player. They got him up around the footy, and he made a huge difference. I thought that was really good coaching. That instead of him staying inside 50, is get him up and get him into it, because we need our toughest players around the ball. And what he does so well is he gets back to goal. Like, he's on his bike, so he'll compete, he'll get amongst you, he'll get a tap in, or he'll do something scrappy, and then he'll just get out and get back to goal. That's why he always kicks goals from the goal square, because his defender's nowhere near him, because he just slips you and he just goes 100 mile an hour. His work rate is sensational, and his last month's been really good. He's had a bit of a quieter year, but as a forward, it's really hard to have impacts every week. But when he gets up and gets into the game, like around the footy, I think they need to do that more with him, because Adelaide do struggle a little bit at times with their contested ball. I think they did really well tonight by getting him up around the footy.
He's busy. Lachie Shoal's the other one too. So he ran 15.6. He was really clean, 17 disposals, and ended up with 2 goals. And then you work your way to, like, Hugh Bond, first game. Like, he's the fourth. He covered 15.4.
Wow.
You know, like in his foot. No wonder he was cramping. He ended up having 6 disposals, but he didn't look out of place there in the back line. And when you have a look at, spent most of the night on Jack Higgins, and Jack really didn't even have a dangerous night. He had the 7 disposals and kicked 1 behind, so he's taken a fair scalp.
Just back to Ben Keys. I didn't mention this in the call, and I now am really regretful for not doing it. It's his 100th game for Adelaide tonight.
First Crow ever to do it as well, consecutive games.
And he's played 100 consecutive games since coming to the club. Yeah, which is what I was going to say. Yeah.
For someone who works that hard and is that contested, he's so durable. He looks like a pretty player when you look at him with his hair and that, but he is far from a pretty player. He works his butt off, and he's a hard unit. And I bet you the boys love playing with him. And but just looking at Adelaide, like, you know, we talk about their list, and a lot has been said about their list and their recruiting, but you're starting to find a few players now, aren't you? You can actually say, well, Dan Curves is going to be a player. Dowling's going to be a player. I mean, Scholl's starting to come into it now. Berry looks like he's going to be okay. Just,
Jack Taylor.
And whether you get back...
Sligo's obviously an A-grader.
Whether you get back the bonus of having a Wayne Millerer or a couple of others, Josh Worrell, yep, you know, who are injured at the moment. So
all of a sudden we're looking at them just a little bit differently, aren't we?
The only interesting one, Jamo, is the midfield mix. Crows fans have been begging for a bigger body, and we've said how hard it is to recruit one of those and even draft them like a Patrick Cripps type that everybody wants. But it is clicking at the moment. Like, Saligo's coming together. Rankin, when he plays, looks great in there. Zach Taylor had a great night, but they're all similar sizes, right? You've got Dawson as your main pillar and then a couple of smalls around him. Do they still need another recruit to bolster that midfield mix? Or are you pretty happy now with what we're seeing from these kids?
I would love speed. I think we've spoken a number of years now when we sort of do the review. I think we need another ruckman. We, being Adelaide need another ruckman, and they need speed of players.
So Rankin isn't enough
I don't
for that
know.
speed?
No,
Yeah.
I reckon you need 2, if not 3. I mean, you'd love another player. So the damage then would be, I think Dawson is your big body midfielder. I think Berry's there. I think Pedler's showing some signs. Phil Thorpe, you've got the option. I think he's almost the big body midfielder too. You know, like, throw him into the middle. Rankin goes into the middle. He goes up forward. If you could have some more speed... If Rankin stays forward, stick another speedster in the middle somewhere as well.
When you're saying throw Philthorpe in the middle, you're saying as the second ruck as well?
Oh, no, I wouldn't throw him.
You want to use him as a big?
I'd run him like as a centre, like traditionally, like go your ruck rover, have a centreman in there, like running in that type of role.
We'll come back to this, but Braden's made his way over to the Saints rooms. Adelaide winners by 32 tonight. Let's hear from the losers tonight. Down to you, Braden.
Yeah, I've got the Saints vice-captain, Callum Wilkie, with me. Callum, commiserations. Where did that go wrong? Because it felt like you were in that, particularly at the start of the second half.
Yeah, definitely. I think first quarter we started pretty well. Was able to, play the game in our front half, and probably after that, they played more of a front half game, and we probably coughed up some easy goals, which we're big momentum killers in a tight, wet game like it was, and they probably handled conditions better than we did. And when it's a low-scoring game, those can mean a lot. So yeah, it was disappointing.
Both sides have got to play in the conditions, but how difficult is it when the rain's teaming down and you're just not getting the footy in your forward half?
Yeah, very difficult. It's sort of all game plans somewhat goes out the window, and it just becomes a territory game. And who can play surge footy the best, and get those little knock-ons. And I thought they were better than us after quarter time with that. And we probably we just weren't as good as them. They were probably a bit harder, and we're able to surge it forward and create some chances which we weren't able to do. So and then you go try win it. When you're 3 goals down, and you're obviously going to cost a couple if you can't get it forward.
We don't normally see a key forward start as sub, and Riley Philthorpe comes on in the rain and then presents a real challenge for you in that final quarter. Was that hard to adjust to when a player of his strength comes on, is able to have an impact?
Yeah, he just won 2 good contests and kicked 2 goals, which was probably the difference in that fourth quarter. And he's a big human. He's obviously put on a fair bit of size, and he's going to be a bloody good player. But yeah, they were able to win it out of the midfield a lot in that last quarter and get it going forward, and then you just need to win a contest and it's a goal. So yeah, no, it was disappointing, and we weren't able to win those big contests in that last quarter and get it going forward our way and lock it in there. So they were better than us.
you've had the ability in the last few weeks to really take the game on and kick quick goals as you did against the Swans and also late against the Lions. I guess in these conditions it's a lot more challenging, but is there a bit of a challenge when you've got both that defensive side that you like to play, but then you're trying to flick the switch as well in the attacking, you can get caught between both?
Yeah, definitely. These conditions are hard. You can't really play the game that we sort of wanted to play. Well, we played last week against the Swans in obviously perfect conditions under Marvel. So, it's such a adjustment to getting in those wet conditions. You can't play that free-flowing football that you want to. It's all become territory and contest and surge. So we weren't able to do that, and they defended it very well after quarter time, and especially in that second half where they didn't give up those little cough-ups and all those little moments and those little contests, and that was the game.
Carl Milkey, thanks for your time.
Thanks, Braden.
Big thanks to Braden as well for teeing up the All-Australian fullback from the Saints. So Adelaide winners by 32 points, 10-11-71 to the Saints, 5-9-39. Spoke well there, Carl Wilkie, the Premiership Rooster as well, back home in South Australia, but ultimately it was always going to be a tough task, as he said, when you get smashed around the stoppage and you're just trying to do your best to hold the line down back when it's not going your way.
We spoke to him after round 7, Port, when they lost here by 10 points. And, look, again, just his ability, I think we're talking, consistently? He hasn't missed a game.
No,
I think
since he moved to St Kilda, that's right. Yeah. So he's at what now? 126?
His durability and then All-Australian. And again, tonight, I thought he certainly initially had the better of Taylor Walker, I think, for probably most of the night.
Good, yeah. I mean, they're defending. They had to defend 52 inside 50s tonight in wet conditions, which is a lot. So I thought the tall backs of St Kilda actually held up okay until the last quarter when Tilthorpe got hold of Howard. But I mean, he'd be frustrated, obviously, that they just don't look. They didn't look like it in the last quarter when the game was still in the balance. It's a bit of a pattern with St Kilda and their ability to get enough supply inside their 50, because I'm sure as a defender you'd want the ball going more times inside 50 than you happen to defend most weeks. So, he sounded a bit dejected, as you would be, but yeah.
He mentioned the fact that playing under the roof and then coming outdoors is actually pretty hard. I did look at what they've got coming up. They've got West Coast, Essendon, Brisbane and Richmond in the next month, and they're all under the roof.
Is that right?
Well, some of them are away games, but yeah, they're under the roof.
Yeah, it was a good text, but whoever put that text in, there's actually something in that. I'd love to see teams that play under the roof a lot, what they are like, because we saw Bulldogs here last week. They play under the roof a lot. They played here last week, even though it was great conditions.
Yep.
And they were terrible. And then they've gone back into the roof today, and they're a different team. So I'd be interested to see if there's any sort of facts or... You got anything in that space, Aaron, that you can pick up that we can chat about? But,
I'll get to work through the week.
It was a great text. Whoever sent that text through, it was really good.
Well, I think the last quarter, Adelaide just outworked them. So it was nearly 20 more disposals, 15-7 inside 50s. This is just the last quarter, uncontested 45-19. So they were able to get the footy outside and then start to control the game a little bit better. And the disposal by foot, Adelaide were at 58%. This was deplorable. Saints were at 27% for that last quarter. So, one, they didn't get enough of the football. They didn't use it. Marks, it was 57-33 overall. And then when you I'll just have a quick look at the last quarter, 9-5 in favour of Adelaide in that last quarter.
Contested marks in the last quarter.
Yeah. I couldn't tell you.
No,
I'll have a look.
It's not there.
Not many.
But they fell apart,
and
essentially.
Then, Rowan Marshall, again, the hit-outs. He was dominant to probably three-quarter time, and then Riley O'Brien and Thilthorpe had 4. It was 20-12 in that last quarter.
Two crucial misses on goal first quarter. Big Marshall, which when you're on the road and you're 20 metres out in front, you've got to kick those goals. And, They started well, but for the rest of the game, when Adelaide turned up the heat around the contest, and we called it here, Jim, I remember you saying, I really like the energy, how hard some of the younger Adelaide boys were running, and it was noticeable. They just went harder when they needed to, and that's the positive for me, watching Adelaide, and I call a lot of their games, and seeing these young kids working their butts off, getting to contest after contest and showing up, there's a bit to like about some of these players now. We've probably got a different view of them than what we did 2 months ago. But it's amazing when you give them an opportunity regularly every week. You stay in the side 4 or 5 weeks, what you can actually show. So, some really good signs.
Does that also validate the Crows' belief and backing of Matthew Nicks, that even though the season hasn't gone to plan and he's been there for 5 years without playing finals, that the playing group is clearly invested in what he's doing if they're playing that hard in abysmal conditions?
Well, I think I'd say yes, because they signed him for 2 years. You know, like, and again, I've been off the board for 16 months now, and I've kept my distance. But the last couple of years on footy strategy, like we were trending and tracking as to where we had to be competitive against the likes of a Fremantle and a Brisbane, as to where they were tracking at a similar timeline in terms of the players that were playing. So the last 3 years, it was 21 players debuted, and what Adelaide's now debuted 4 more, I think, this year. So 25 players in the 4 years. So Matty Nicks is starting to get the team that he has picked up, and he's picking players that he wanted to. And you're starting to see them come. And that's, I think a coach needs, I think, minimum of 5 years, because they inherit and then they have to build what they want, and then you sort of lose what you're going to. So I think...
So that's almost a piece of advice for the West Coast Eagles then. They're in a similar space now where they've had really poor years. The list is very young, and it hasn't had a great couple of seasons at the draft, and you're saying whoever comes in just needs to be given some time.
Oh, totally. I think you do. And like, this is where I was talking to our Darwin colleagues on the weekend, and you go back to round 13 here last year when West Coast played Adelaide. They had 18 players that were injured.
This is West Coast.
West Coast. Yeah. They're all first picked, 18. And then you look at Adam Simpson. In 2020, it was 12 wins, they came 5th. 2021, 10 wins, they came 9th. In 2022, came 18th with 2 wins. 2023, which is part of this injury, so you'd certainly, their high performance bloke got booted, because all of these injuries, they had 6 hamstrings, 2 knees, 3 ankles, 1 Achilles, 1 groin, 2 hips. And there was some suspension and concussion in
and a partridge in a pear tree? Is that where you were going there?
You Rain Man here. Look at this. This is unbelievable.
But then he goes on. So here he is again. So in 3 years, they've only won 6 games. So I think I think they've done it at the right time. And now I think I'm right in saying, come the end of August, all your assistant coaches need to be informed as part of the agreement.
Yep.
Am I going to be at the club here next year? So then they can actually go far and wide. I don't know Nathan Buckley well. I've spoken to him before. I haven't spoken to him in 18 months, 2 years. But I think he's the right man for that job, in terms of it's a monster club. It's one of the biggest in the land. And I think he would be better coach now, second time around, and give him 3 to 5 years to build it. And then you're going to get, the attraction, the Harley Reid type thing that they're already talking about. You know, like, you're going to start, he will get players, not dissimilar to what a Damien Hardwick is, going to the Gold Coast, and people want to come and play for him.
Aaron, you've been there. You've grown up in Perth. You tell me, was West Coast going to go for one of their own? Or are they going to stretch themselves and go for a Nathan Buckley?
It's so tricky because it's not the Trevor Nisbet era anymore. So it's a different West Coast right now.
And what he's been through.
So I'd say in the past they would have been pretty ruthless to get the best possible. I'm not sure what Don Pike's about. I haven't really met him much. You'd know better, Jamo. But I imagine it's a similar mantra. And that you're right. They are one of the biggest clubs in the country. And the pressure on them in that town is immense. And they cannot afford a misstep here. No, they can't favour their own. Albeit Dean Cox is a great candidate.
You're 100% right, Aaron. You're not just coaching a football team, you're coaching a state, basically. It's a massive job, and they'll get the best person available from a footy brain, but also that can handle the heat. But, getting back to Adelaide, clearly there's, like, whatever Adelaide's brand, when it's good, is actually good. Like when they play free and they win contests and they get the ball inside 50 with a bit of speed, they're a dangerous football team. That's Matty Nix's game style and game plan. It's good. Like, it's good. They just haven't been able to sustain it. Like especially this year, as we know, they've just faded in and out of games, and they look a shell of the team that they were last year at times. But then there's been times for a quarter they've gone, oh, they're back, like, and that back is good. Like it's up there with some of the best. So I think the players and the board believe in that. So when they see it, like we have probably the last 3 weeks, you go, well, it's a pretty good brand and it holds up. So, it's an interesting one because he's 5 years without playing finals. I'm sure if they're in the same position next year, I think he might be in a bit of trouble because, you need to be playing finals sooner rather than later. But if their brand was terrible, like if they weren't getting the ball inside 50, they were getting the ball in 30 times a week, 39 times a week inside 50, and their contest work was down and players were seriously out of form like every week, then the coach loses a player and the board really quick, I would imagine, Jamo. But his game style is actually okay. They just haven't been able to sustain it long enough this season, which is why they are where they are. But when they get it right, it's great.
So you're referring to the brand as the way they play?
They play, yeah.
So I think the brand as a club, I think arguably it's one of the bigger brands. But clearly last year, look at last year's stats. They were the highest scoring, quickest team. So again, they just haven't been able to get them on the park. Now, you've spoken about a couple of players tonight that have been introduced. Chris Burgess is possibly not in the best 22, but he gives them depth. Matt Crouch, Daniel Curtin, Lockie Gallant, Mitch Hinge, Wayne Millerer, Luke Pedler, Isaac Rankin, Harry Schoenberg, Josh Worrell. Like, you've still got this type of player that can fill the role. So I think they've got the base of it again, injury, form, and or other, suspension. But I think another speed player, another mobile, dominant ruckman. I mean, imagine Rowan Marshall in Adelaide's team.
The ruck's a huge problem because there's just no one on the market anymore. So they tried to go for Ned Maul. He stayed at the Suns. Sam Draper was floated. He's not going anywhere. It's honestly one of those ones they may have to draft, and then you're still looking 3 to 4 years down the line.
They missed out on a young fella called Taylor Goad, big South ruckman who's on the North Melbourne list.
Yeah. Sherry's coming along quite well, so maybe they could lure him back.
Well, his manager's the same manager as Jason Horne-Francis, so
that was out of nowhere, wasn't it?
He only spent a year there, and he's back in Adelaide. So there's no doubt they wanted him. They were ready to talk to him. Adelaide had the next pick, and North Melbourne came in from nowhere and grabbed him. So, and you're right, no club gives away a number one ruckman. So
except for Melbourne.
But like, they are hard to find. So I don't know.
Collingwood before that.
They're hard to find, and you've got to pay them a fair bit of money to entice them to come to your club. So, but O'Brien's going okay. But whether or not he can hold the forward up over the next couple of years, who knows? But they're hard to find. That's why they play forever. Because you can't find them. Well, I played till I was 34. I shouldn't have been playing my last 4 years, but I was, because they're hard to find. And Mumford played forever.
Yeah.
Because
Todd Goldstein.
He's still going. I played against him. It's crazy. I think you're right, Gemma. I think they're just one speedy player away from a complete kind of midfield, because if you're going to put Rankin in as an on-baller, you're missing something up forward.
Well, you've got Lockie Murphy, which provides the pressure, but he's in and out. But even if you go, even tonight with St Kilda, I mean, Jack Higgins, he's up forward, he's had a quieter night. Dan Butler's getting a little bit older, but he's still dangerous around goals. And then, say, Liam Henry, so you've got, just in tonight with the Saints, you've got some absolute speed, either up forward, and they push Liam Henry behind the footy. Now, Isaac Rankin's out. I don't think you could say Adelaide has a speedy player. Like, Lockie Murphy does apply the pressure, but he's not at that level of what we're talking about.
Well, we were saying they looked a bit cumbersome up forward for parts of the game tonight. And then, it was good coaching to get people out of the forward line, so it looked a little bit more open and spacey, and it worked for them tonight, which I thought, again, I've mentioned it before, I thought it was a great move by the coaching staff to do it. So, look, I think you're right, mate. I think they need to find some speed again in their side, because I still think they're one short. Because if Rankin, like I said, goes on ball, then you're a bit slower up forward, and but they're not easy to find either. Everyone wants them too, because that's the modern game now. So they're looking for the two hardest players you can't find, and that's speed and the ruckman. So, but the last 3 weeks been really super impressed with Adelaide, and you could easily throw the season away, but clearly they want to play for Matthew Nicks. They're playing a good brand. He went down and gave him a spray at quarter time. They responded. What more can you ask from your coach?
Thoughts of premiership players Dean Brogan and Rod Jamison wrapping up Adelaide's 32-point victory here at the Adelaide Oval, 10-11-71 to the Saints, 5-9-39. Jamo's working on the votes, gives me a chance to run through what happened at the MCG. So Melbourne defeating Essendon by 17 points there, 13-6-84 to 10-7-67. Very wet game, similar to the one here at Adelaide Oval. Lead changed a couple of times early, but once the Demons hit the front midway through the second quarter, they never really looked back, and it pushed out to at one point a 41-point lead and ultimately came down to 17 points. Nick Martin had 26 touches and 4 goals. Prolific. Trent Rivers was the best for the D's. He had 29. In terms of the goal scorers as well, for the Demons, Daniel Turner 3, Bailey Fritsch 3, and Keziah Pickett had 2 alongside Jake Melksham. So all the usual forward targets fired, and the D's find themselves back in the top 8, and the Bombers miss a chance to move into the top 4. So we still have 3 games to come tomorrow: Gold Coast and Port, Richmond and the Giants, and West Coast and Brisbane, and that can shape the state of the 8. Brisbane have a chance to jump into the top 4 if they get the job done over West Coast by a big margin, as does Port Adelaide if they can beat the Gold Coast Suns at home, which no one has been able to do. Jamo, how'd your votes land for the 3-2-1 tonight in Adelaide's win over the Saints?
I think it's actually pretty tough to probably go and be definitive, but I'm actually going to give one to Matthias Philippou. I think just his game across the night was consistent, and the numbers sort of represent that. There were other players that had more disposals. He's had 29 tackles, 15 contested, 5 uncontested, and then 13 ground ball gets and 5 clearances, 1 goal, 1. So I think, but there are others that had more touches and what have you, but I'm going to go 1. I think Lachie Scholl, just for more the impact that Lachie Scholl had on the game, I'll give him 2, as well as Jake Saligo. I thought in terms of maybe a quieter first half, monster third, got Adelaide going and then continued on. I'll go with him for 3.
It's a good symbolism of the game. I think there were stats all over the place, and someone like a Rory Laird with 31, Jordan Dawson 26. I think you kind of bang on, Jamo, in terms of the actual impact on the game. Saligo and Scholl felt like the ones who set up a lot for the Crows.
Well, I thought Sam Berry's game also too. He's had 12 tackles, 12 contested, 9 ground ball gets, 7 clearances. He's had 15 disposals, but I liked what he's building. I genuinely, and there's the big bull in the middle. You know, like there is some stuff there. You got the hard worker. Certainly, Ben Key's a little stiff based on the numbers that we spoke about and the distance that he covers and how hard he works. Jordan Dawson just puts himself where he needs to be. Metres gained 5.62 and had 26 and a whole lot of the footy. So, and I thought the back line, I thought they really stood up. That's not to take away anything from the Saints, but there are others that played well. But I was really impressed with Jake Saligo.
That wraps things up here at the Adelaide Oval. Big thanks to Rod Jamison. Good to see you as always, Jamo. Great to have Brogues in the box as well.
Great to be here.
Brogan.
Thank you.
Braden Ingram downstairs, hard at work, getting into both rooms. Great to call with Neil Cross once again. Paul Brokenshaw is our man with all the stats of the James Bond movies getting in our ears. Great job tonight to our tech, and to Adam Jones, the cult figure, back in the studio. Adelaide winners by 32 points here at the Adelaide Oval. As I mentioned, plenty of footy still to come. So AFL Sunday to kickstart your day with Matt Clinch from 12 Eastern Standard Time, and then we roll into our triple header. So Gold Coast and Port at Carrara from 1 p.m. Eastern. That's 12:30 in South Australia. Chance for Port Adelaide to become the first team to knock off the Suns at Carrara and move themselves into the top 4 in the process. Richmond and the Giants from 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then we wrap up the round with West Coast and Brisbane from 4 p.m. If you missed the big news, ABC Sport is going to broadcast the Euros final Monday morning, 4:32 Eastern Standard Time, between England and Spain. thanks to our friends at the BBC. So you can hear it on ABC Sport Digital and the ABC Listen app. Now, speaking of ABC Sport Digital, our listeners are off to Wimbledon. Our coverage has just started with the BBC. The women's singles final about to get underway, and we're going to crown a new champion, Barbara Krejcikova. Got through it in the end there, Jamo. It's an absolute nightmare. And Jasmine Paolini, so facing off in the women's single final. You're headed there on Sport Digital. For everybody else, enjoy the remainder of your night and come with us, AFL Sunday, 12.